A word to the wise. We are an explicit podcast tackling content with adult themes, as well as entering spoiler territory. Bow, 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 bow. If you aren't caught up with us, which is through chapter 28 in the lovely, the sensational, the wonderful Jade Legacy by Fonta Lee.
Hey there, this is Cross. Bwomp, 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 bwomp. I'm PJ.
I'm Ben.
Hey, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Thomas.
And we are Hungover, Words and Whiskey, a podcast for veteran and novice readers alike. We tackle fiction novels and love to talk about what we're drinking. You should think of us as your intoxicating weekly book club.
I just wanted to copy Thomas.
Thank you.
Sorry for stealing your thunder.
No, it's shared thunder.
A thunderous applause.
That's what AC/DC would want.
That's true.
Thunderstruck. Today is our fourth episode. We're going to cut that right out. Today is our fourth episode. We'll be talking about chapters 21 through 28. But before we get into that, let's talk about our featured drink. What are we doing this lovely brunch morning, afternoon?
Sunday brunch with the girls.
Mimosas with the girly pops.
Mimosas.
I'm doing a beer mosa with Minute Maid pulp-free orange juice and Bud Light.
Same. It's
Sounded
lovely.
like not one, but two free ads, and that's abhorrent.
Adhorrent.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I got him. PJ, what's yours composed?
Mick Golden Light and Uncle Matt's organic orange juice.
Double organic.
Why is it double
All
organic?
natural.
Because I'm reading verbatim what's
Why,
on the label.
Does it say why? Does it explain itself?
I think the brand is Uncle Matt's Organic, and the product is organic orange juice.
Thank you for that. It was killing me.
Yep.
That tracks. You, Thomas. What's
your
your
mimosa? I can't fucking handle it. I can't do beer. So over under was 3 sips. I'm gonna hit the over just because I'm not a. But I'm not. I can't do it. It's not good. And I cheated. I did like 50-50 split of a local brewery IPA, which I can tell is good, but I just can't. And orange juice, which I will not name because it is a large brand. And then to back it up,
Sure.
got a bourbon lemonade, which I tonic water because I like a bubbly cocktail. And I added lime juice to make it extra sour, and I did a blueberry syrup.
Very nice.
Ooh, that sounds tasty. My siblings drank all my fucking orange juice, so I had to try my best to make an equivalent, and so I made a blood orange attempt, and it is Shiner Bock, which is a dark beer to begin with, which was going to make for a really weird beer mosa mixed with squirt and blood orange syrup. And it tastes like a beer mosa, despite having none of the nutritional value.
Got there.
Are you going to name
Does
it?
beer mosa have nutritional value? Let's
Vitamin
be real.
C, baby.
Yeah, vitamin C.
Vitamin C. There
Cross,
we
are you going to name it the blood of the pillar, meaning I?
Ooh, the blood of the pillar 2. I did take a nice photo of it just because I was like, this is pretty
It
great.
does look nice.
It actually worked out. So yeah, maybe we'll throw it up there.
We were
We'll
like,
call it
let's
a-
all make
we'll
beer
call it a thing.
mosas. And then Cross was like, hold my beer. I'm going to be fancy.
Gonna kill a snake.
I'm going to kill a snake, and then I'm going to be fancy and take the featured cocktail for myself.
I just liked the fact that I found this funny looking shark attack glass from Red Lobster from like the 80s.
Right.
That is funny looking.
And it's pretty great.
It's like an unstemmed hurricane glass.
Mhm.
At my parents' house, they still use, like, it's in their main drink cupboard. They still use the like old school Batman and Flintstones glass cups from McDonald's.
Hell yeah.
Oh wow,
Do you remember those?
that's cool.
I do
Yeah.
remember those because
94, it says on
served-
the bottom.
there's a speakeasy in Minneapolis that I went to that had all kinds of eclectic glassware, and they used those for some of their cocktails.
Nice. Well, maybe
great.
I can sell them to them for a high price.
Mm-hmm.
What's impressive is none of them have broken.
That is
They're
impressive.
like thick glass. One has the Joker on it. One has Two-Face. The coin flipping.
Nice.
I'll take photos next time I'm in Wichita, Kansas.
Go
Excellent.
Shockers.
So stoked. All right. Well, before we talk about the chapters specifically,
Should we-
PJ, Ben, Aaron.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah, let's do a cheers. We'll do a cheers.
We have the
Cheers.
same drink. Ish.
It's true.
Cling,
Cheers.
cling.
Clink, clink.
Nice.
We got one real
Um,
clink in there, which is good.
We
We'll
did.
just
You know what?
duplicate it for
Satisfying.
everybody else.
This actually tastes good. It's the smell I can't do. That's a new discovery.
All right.
Maybe your
can put
smeller's
some-
messed up from the Canadian smoke.
So, do you have a
Could be.
straw? There you go.
Boom.
Oh, he does. The boy does have a
Don't
straw.
worry, it's metal. It's sustainable.
No turtles harmed here.
The cup's plastic, though.
Jesus
No,
Christ.
biodegradable plastic
All right. There we go. Okay.
from Heartland
Good.
on Hudson.
Was it better out of the straw?
It's made of like cactus, and you can just throw it
Mm.
anywhere. Apparently, you don't have to bring it to a dedicated recycling plant.
Cactus will
you
grow
should
wherever
just
you
throw
throw it.
Boom.
That's what I just learned. Cool. That's so ridiculous and exciting. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this week's reading and what you guys, how was it for you?
It was
That's what
pretty,
she
It was great for
pretty
me.
intense.
Quite stressful.
Yeah. I felt not good for most of it.
I really liked this week,
I agree. Yeah, it was
and we had a happy ending.
very exciting.
Thomas and I were chatting about it because we were freaking out and we're like, oh yeah, we left this and we had adjusted the cliffhanger because originally we had left you on chapter 27, but we had settled that. We decided not to do that because it was too goddamn mean.
I do remember that.
Especially when it's just answered the next chapter.
And also, I think we'd had to justify cutting it off there. It would have been weird with the other weeks. So we were like, we'll
Mhm.
give them this one.
And you had
Yeah.
to finish
Mhm.
up what happened to I. That was like
Right,
her
yeah.
whole arc.
I
Mhm.
absolutely couldn't handle it. I will admit that I just flipped ahead. I was like,
You did not.
The next
You
chapter.
pulled an Aaron.
just to like the last chapter of the thing.
You
I was like,
pulled an Aaron.
I was like, well, this is a Barrow chapter, so I was like, I know. Like,
Oh, you skipped
Fuck it.
Barrow.
So I was like, I'm skipping over that. And then I went to the next chapter and I started just scanning it. And I read like the last half of it where Aitmata gets found. And then the next chapter was Andon chapter. So I was like, okay, I'm skipping that. And then
Ben, that's not how reading works.
I went back and read it all.
You did it wrong.
My man was stressed.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. The first time that I read this book or that I was reading this book, I had to go to a family function and I hit chapter 25 and I went, I'm gonna be an hour late.
It's just like, I cannot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you really do that?
I'm still not.
It's insane.
I don't know for sure that we're completely out of the woods. We got some relief, but I'm not convinced that they're not going to die anyway.
Wow. Why do you say that?
Because that seems like something mean that these two would do to us.
Do you mean like die?
There's only one chapter left in the parts.
PJ, do you mean die like in general, like anything to kill them, or specifically from this incident?
Internal bleeding.
I don't know if that matters.
Okay. I was just curious if you were like, they're gonna concussion, second impact syndrome, something crazy going on.
I mean, some Mountain Clan loyal doctor starts channeling into him and kills him instead. I don't know.
They took oaths, PJ. They would never.
They're vulnerable. I don't think the oaths matter as much anymore. The fabric of society is falling apart. The irreverence of the gods has been displayed by Emma. Like things are going to shit in KCON.
I will say I was happy with the way everything turned out. I thought it was all great, even the Ait stuff. If Shay had killed Ait, that to me that would have been way out of character for her.
Yeah, I agree.
So when she pulled the knife out, I was like, really? And then I was like, oh, okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't want to
I am-
kill a wounded animal. I don't know. It's like
In church.
in
Yeah.
church.
Even though the opportunity is there and the gods aren't watching, like there's just something fundamentally wrong about
Something
that.
gross about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am so excited for this week. I know that we had taken a couple of like slower weeks, kind of intentionally, because this was all set up to this massive moment that propels us into the rest of the story very clearly. In a normal book, this week is a climax. Like, this is the climax of your entire fucking story.
Yeah, it did feel like an
instead,
ending
so
almost.
left.
We're what, two-thirds through?
I think like 50 chapters left.
Yeah. So we are next week is like roughly, we passed the 50% mark next week. We go to like 55 or 56%. So it was 9 episodes for the whole season, or book or series or whatever. Okay. Can't wait to talk about this. There's so much, and I'm very excited to get into it. So let's get into our chapters here. With that, we start with chapter 21, The Meaning of Green, the 14th year and 2nd month. Did you catch the timing this time, Aaron? Did you?
No, I never do.
Okay. All right. Well,
I won't. I will not.
interject.
I will not.
This is to keep track of time in the book.
I will not.
So we returned to Shay, fully pregnant, on a trip to Port Massey to check in on the business dealings of the clan overseas. While there, she meets with an Espenian marketing group to reshape the discussion of Jade in the land, as well as a quick update on the proxy war in Resville.
What the fuck?
There's a lot that goes on.
Fully pregnant mean?
Thank you. That was number one on my list.
She just is pregnant.
Right. Well,
Wouldn't
I mean,
fully-
she's like,
fully
she's
mean
going
9
through
months. She's full term.
closer to term,
She's
right? That was kind of my
full
thought
on.
process.
She's like 7 months.
Yeah, right. I guess we knew that she was pregnant beforehand. This is like we've committed.
It's viable.
Yeah, it's past. Yeah, it's viable.
You can tell
She
people
went from pregnant to pregnant.
to Pergnet.
Is that
pregnant.
No,
But I was really just thinking about it. Like she has been warned against traveling, and like very near in the future she won't be able to for a while. And so that was kind of my thought process. Is it's like it's kind of a last hurrah of sorts for the pregnancy. But
yes.
yeah. Anyone else like Hami on a plane? Does anyone else behave like Hami when they're on an airplane? Like
pretty much.
I know some people can't sleep on planes. I'm just very curious how you guys are on planes. I thought it was a fun bit.
I just download a movie and then I start the movie the minute I sit down, and I don't look up until I stand back up.
Headphones on. Please don't interact with me.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to stay inside.
I
space.
try to disassociate as much as possible.
For sure.
I'm pretty scared of flying too.
If I think about it too much, I can get there for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna explode. I watched Final Destination at a very young age, and it ruined my entire life.
Allow my brain to go there. But
I just think about the scene in Fight Club where the wing rips off and he's looking outside, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could stay calm during that and just die. And then
That's
I
nice.
return to my movie or whatever I'm listening to.
Damn, that's nuts.
Damn, that'd be so wild for 10 seconds.
I think I just like listen to a book or a podcast or something on my headphones and close my eyes. Similarly, avoid any sort of interactions with anybody. I don't understand people that just have deep conversations with strangers on a plane. Like I can't.
I don't
can't
even
do it.
when I fly with John, we'll sit next to each other, but we won't like talk to each other. I don't understand.
I interact with friends on the airplane.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to sit by you.
Yeah.
Go sit somewhere else.
We're all just doing this. We're getting to our place, and then we'll interact after that.
Then we'll go to a bar.
There's a couple of times where I've been cornered into a conversation, and I'm just like, I'm too nice to not
That's
like
what
cut
you-
it off. And
you-
so
I
there was
get
one time that
on
I
the
just had a
plane.
full 2-hour conversation. and it's like,
Cross.
Jesus Christ.
You gotta
Here's
get
what you
on
do.
the plane with headphones on, and then if someone
I
talks to you,
generally
you have to
do.
go like this. What?
I do the big full on ones.
I'm incapable of being that
What?
rude.
No, you just
Well, it's not rude.
Pretend
It's
you're
just
in
my-
the NBA. And
my
you're just,
blood.
like,
Yeah.
pre-gaming.
Even if you're not listening to anything, just have
Oh,
headphones in
exactly.
without music,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah, that's
act
what I
like you
do.
can't
And then
hear.
I read.
And be like, wait, what? What? Oh, okay.
Tross, here's your next time. So you can still be polite. Is just act like Key and Peele in the Looking for Terry's sketch, and just be like, "You trying to get frauded?" Just be really weird but nice, and then they won't talk to you anymore.
I think
That woman also tried to set me up with her niece
Aw. Was she
as a
hot?
part of that. of whom was attractive. So I don't,
Wow.
you know, in the end, was it worth it? No. But did it potentially have its upsides? Sure.
Never.
Anyway, I was just very curious about people's plane etiquette and behavior because of hobbies. I just thought it was so funny that she's like, Shay is so stressed on the airplane. Meanwhile, Hami is like,
well, she was
could give a fuck. Yeah,
She was fully pregnant. Not
I think
half pregnant anymore.
Hami's just disassociating like the rest of
It
us.
also flies all the time.
Couldn't be bothered.
It's his job. I love as well in this that we get kind of Gwyn and Shay's blossoming relationship, Poppy as sort of the doting husband, which is just kind of fun after all of this time that we've had him kind of like in the background, and now Lon's best friend is this like killer dad almost to and just like member of the family proper. It's great. But
First
Shay
time
is still
father at
haunted by
50.
Marrow in the back of her mind. And that's interesting. I kind of wanted your guys' thoughts and feelings as to like why that execution still weighs so heavily on her, and as a comparison to other green bones. What does that make you think of Shay?
I think the fact that she still thinks on it with weight makes her a lot more of a like sympathetic character than she could have been if she had just entirely written it away from herself.
It was a pretty traumatic
Yeah, I mean, it's
experience.
normal.
It's like PTSD.
The process thing.
She probably needs therapy.
Probably true.
Yeah, I'm glad she's not like a cold killer snake.
It's a good juxtaposition against Hilo too, especially I think with the ability to turn these things on or off.
It's different too. It's not like Hilo executed his lover. Hilo's just out here executing like bad guys.
Anyone. I also really love, there's this sort of meta quote that happens while she's reflecting on these things from Shay, or from Wen, where she says, "Sister Shay, when is life ever like a story where the characters get exactly what they deserve, good or bad? You're not used to being afraid, but every new mother is afraid." And I like that quote for so many reasons, but I love just the nice little like dash of spice from Fonda being like setting the stage and expectations of like, this is a story, of course, we're reading a story, but is it going to shake out cleanly? No. Does anything in life really shake out cleanly? No.
Yeah, Win's a good sister for Shay.
Yeah, there's definitely some commentary to that,
She's grounding.
which is good. And then, yeah, this is just great advice.
Every new mother is afraid.
Classic Win.
We've been loving on Wen for a long time, but this section specifically, she really came out as the super strong and like meaningful character she always has been in a more tangible way. Between this and the realization that Rue fears her more than Hilo, like she's great.
Mm-hmm. Funny that Dad's the softie, but we'll definitely get there. So shifting the focus away from the flight and the family and sort of Shay's changing dynamics there, we go to the WH Focus Advertising Agency meeting, which is the purpose of the venture out here. What do we make of the move in the conversation to change the way that Jade is perceived and the pitch that Wrigley Holland brings to the table? He's got the photos where he's like, this is how it's perceived now. This is how it is. It's not available for sale. So like it's convincing people that this is a good thing despite it not being publicly available. What do you think?
I think that Jade in movies sounds cool.
Isn't that one of the later chapters?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. This is the focus where they're trying to just reset it. But this does set up ultimately the idea of the movies and everything else. So this is the groundwork that Wen gets to lean in on.
Yeah.
Later.
So what's the actual point here? Like I feel like I'm blending in that movie aspect of it with this. I know they're a little bit interconnected, but I'm having a tough time grasping what the tangible reason for this meeting was.
The tangible reason is because we've now been, I want to say it's 3 years into the legalization of Jade medicine, right? And nothing has changed politically about either the perception of Jade or the access that civilians, especially those of Kickanese descent, have to Jade. And so the idea is to rehabilitate the image of it as a thing, because the way that people have seen it is in Shatarian gangster films, or they hear about the clans. So he brings up the 3 different photos, which are of different violent moments or like people getting the itches, all of these different things. And he wants to reframe them as the 3 positive aspects. So like the student that learns and the sporting side of things, and wants to, in a very advertisement way, wants to change it from, you know, I think about like pharmaceutical drugs as a comparison, wants to change it from the negative side of like an addiction like OxyContin might like have if it was sold that way, to the positive side of like, oh, it's pain relief. Oh, you can live your life normally underneath it.
It's a PR
But
campaign.
we're also talking about a weapon.
It's just Jade PR.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good marketing works.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good plan. Got to control
Makes
the
sense.
message.
And I think it's necessary because of how bad of an image Jade has. It's a counterattack.
Yeah. But it's a different one than the ones that we've seen, right? Like we've seen all of these other political dealings, and this is bringing it to the free market quote to kind of handle that, which is interesting, as it can be manipulated by a clan, a gang, basically, to rehabilitate their image internationally.
Mm-hmm.
So we move to John Remy and the discussion around him and what's going on there. What do you guys think of Mr. John Remy? We don't necessarily see from his perspective, of course, but we get kind of a flash update of the proxy war that's going on between the clans and having to pay 500,000 thalers, and then like the Jade shipment that's coming from the mountain, and sort of his dominance and the proof that Andon's plan is actually working.
I was thinking that this was going to
Cup
get
and
him
balls.
killed by the mountain, but now I'm not so sure. After
Get Andon killed?
no, John.
John Remy.
Yeah, but now I'm not so sure because I don't know what's going to happen now that maybe we're going to have like a team up, Mountain and No Peak.
I think at the end of here too, maybe.
Yeah,
Hopefully we have some
Yeah, this
sympathy.
groundwork is being set but solidified by the hopefully, but potentially solidified by the end of this section.
Do we think Remy in the end is going to bend one way or another, or do we think he's going to just stick where he is, try to maintain that control? So right now he's playing both sides.
right.
I don't think we can trust John Remy as far as we can throw him. So
I would agree.
I think he'll do what they allow him to do until they have to kill him.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it too.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about him.
I dig.
Which brings us to chapter pickup, Sons of the Clan. Brew convinces Nito to head over to mountain territory to watch Atasho participate in his first duel. A somewhat melodramatic affair, as it turns out. As the boys head back home, they witness members of the Clanless Future movement committing some vandalism. Brew attempts to confront, despite Nito's protest, before the boys are scooped up and brought back to No Peak territory by a furious Juen.
Throughout all of this, I know they're like teenagers. I know they're like 14, 15 years old or whatever. I'm just imagining them as like 6-year-old children. Like that made for really funny imagery of Rue confronting these vandals with his Talon knife.
Aaron has too, since she doesn't realize that time is passing.
Sure.
Brew is still a baby.
No, I was picturing like 14-year-olds. Rue's a fucking idiot, though. I mean,
Yeah,
can we keep him under control?
it's very tween of him.
He's cut. That's all I know.
It's like, what do you think's gonna? It's not knowing like how small you are. It's like no
He's going to
self-awareness.
cut down 5 adults right in the
Adults.
street.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you
with
don't
no
even have
repercussions.
Jade.
He's green in the soul.
He was a wild boy.
If
So
green
an
means
interesting-
hot-headed and stupid, then yeah, I guess.
So there's an interesting tidbit in the beginning when they're like explaining the plan. They're wandering around. Littlehammer, is that where they end up?
Mm-hmm.
And Rue has been around the mountain and like neutral parts of the city before. It seems like class field trips, little errands, but always accompanied with an adult. And it seems like maybe the other siblings have as well. Because obviously, when they're not wearing Jade, covered by Aisho, and they're underage and all. But what particularly stood out to me is that Andon accompanies them sometimes, which means seemingly, his ability to travel outside of No Peak territory was interesting to me. And then also, when Andon's abducted, he's like, this is also unfamiliar to me, seeing this part of the city, but it's just like ours. So it's just like, look at to where things have come between the clans at this point.
And do you think that comes from his position as a doctor?
Yeah, he
not
doesn't.
being beholden to No Peak?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have Jade on him all the time, right? I mean, he would just be...
Yeah.
Yeah, and Hilo threatened them with war back when he was in Speniat, like if they ever killed Andon, so...
Mm-hmm.
But still just, interesting that he would feel able to do that.
Yeah.
Just a sign of growth from Andon as well.
Agreed.
There's obviously the exciting parts of the chapter later on, but in the beginning there's a lot of little world building and the sibling dynamic between Nico and Rue and Jaya to a small. I really enjoyed that, and I like getting a look at the calls as a family unit.
It is really interesting to see that for sure. Nico is kind of a dark and stormy little guy.
I won't be surprised if he starts torturing animals.
Wow.
Whoa.
He's got
Nico or
some...
Rue?
Nico.
Really? I didn't see that. I mean, he's got a lot of lawn in him, obviously. He's got like the sense of honor for sure, but he's also seems to have a lot of feelings.
He's dark and stormy.
Yeah. It just seems to be kind of brewing off in the...
No, but he's the one like standing in the corner, like watching everyone. They're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Nico."
Yeah, he's like taking everything
He's
in
like,
all the time.
Hey,
They don't know that my uncle
there's the
killed my
Black Parade
mother.
on blast in his headphones. Yeah.
It is pretty clear that he's taken the lesson from when he and Rue were playing with the Jade buttons, and like his oath to always keep him safe. That's taken root at the core of his being throughout his teenage years as well.
Yeah, and Rue doesn't understand the reasoning for it, but he knows that's the way to always do what he wants. I feel
Rue's
like
a little shit stirrer.
wow, he's just a little kid. He's 12. Who wasn't a shit stirrer at 12?
There.
I was a Nico. I'm not going to lie. As a kid, I was a fucking Nico. I was taking care of the other little kids.
He's not very good at it though. Why is he letting Rue like out manipulate him?
He's trying to beat him up
Because he's good at it.
He's
Yeah.
got that too much
no.
lawn in him.
So I would imagine you all won't like this as much as I did, but I thought it was cute how Nico calls Hilo Da when he's talking with his siblings, and it made sense. It's obviously not going to be like uncle, and they're all saying Da, and that he grew up with him as his father, more or less. I thought it was cute despite everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Hilo admitted to murdering his mom.
Tough.
Still cute.
To be fair, good on him for putting it out there at the very least versus keeping it as the
Well,
quiet lie
wanting to
forever.
lie
He's
to his son. Wow.
controlling the narrative around it.
Yeah.
It's the only narrative. Hilo did nothing wrong.
Wow.
The way
Oh, no.
Thomas just casually stirs the pot and then disappears off mic is always... It's too good. I know that people every once in a while are like, you just let that hang there? It's like, yeah, you got it.
That's funny. I need the Gmail access to see. What do we make of
Twitter
the
too.
heir to the Mountain Clan?
All flash, no substance.
He's graduated from this, right?
22 years old, yeah.
Yeah, and
First
they
duel.
mentioned that nobody until now has called him Itgen.
Ooh. And he's a junior fist. He's not even a finger anymore.
Right.
I think
that seemed weird.
I think it's more like in the public, no one's been told Itgen out loud like that.
Gotcha.
Like
Okay.
probably privately he's been called Itgen for a while.
That makes more sense.
But still, like even the first time him being publicly called that is a little telling.
Mm-hmm. This whole thing, like Nico mentions at the end of the fight, feels so aggressively PR-y.
Yeah, like set up.
Yeah, the Kobans are very good at this.
Yeah, but so Nico, precocious as he is, he's 14 or 15, I think 14. He sees right through this. He's like, it's a fucking circus from the beginning, he says. I wonder if this could... But do you think the other Greenbones in the Mountain Clan will react to this at all? Or will they have the same kind of opinion?
I'm sure there's factions that are like, we can benefit from this. So some people in the mountain are going to be into it. But I definitely would think that there's going to be a faction inside the mountain that's like, this guy is full of shit.
It's kind of risky too to like show people your abilities, even if it is for show. Because then people stronger than you could be like, yeah, I could take that dude.
Yeah, kind of like the Ned Stark, I don't joust type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seemed kind of bread and circusy to me, and for the public more so than anyone else. And also because he hadn't dueled before.
Right.
It
It was
get one under his belt.
Hilarious that they're like offered the clean blade a week ago, and they're like, nope, we're going to set this all up. Everybody gather around a week from today. It was kind of not the point of the duel.
The loser of the duel is
being paid.
Probably through it to a certain extent and is going to get paid off.
Yeah.
Taking a dive.
Yeah. I wonder how genuine at that point, it's a question of how genuine the challenge was to begin with, you know?
Exactly. And there's also, the Tobins are so good at the PR stuff. We see Atasho is, he's handsome, he's tall, he's very fashionable, minor celebrity, which is interesting. And then I thought Atasho was a pretty cool name.
That's true.
It is a good name. So that's a good start. I mean, you got to back it up, though.
Yeah, absolutely. We already touched on the planless future movement, I feel like. Was there anything else anyone wanted to digest in there?
Well, I thought, was this the same chapter where Juan picks him up? I thought it was interesting how Nico immediately took the fall, and Juan could tell that he was lying, but was like, okay.
Yeah, I do have that next. So Juan and Lot roll up, which I thought was interesting. We got the horn and the first fist, and they're in mountain territory looking for the boys, and the mountain fist and fingers roll up. Seemed like Juan and the mountain horn were communicating on this too, especially because later on we did that indication, I believe, or earlier we did that indication that they've been working together a little bit, and we see it with like the boat sabotage continually.
Yeah, it seems like they were pretty familiar with working with each other.
There's still tension though.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the interaction between the fist, who like cautiously but still salutes and like speaks respectfully. So tension,
it's
but
a little awkward.
Yeah,
where he's like, "You got what you wanted, basically. Like, leave, salute. By the way, did you see where those fuckers went?"
They went that way.
I kind of imagine them like looking across the street at each other, like sup, just like a little head nod,
like, we good here.
Yeah.
And I'd also imagine, like, it's one fist and two fingers. I don't think they really would want to tangle with the horn and first fist of the other clan.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then, like you were getting to, Aaron, we see, despite growing up in the clan and their intelligence, these kids are still kids, and they didn't grasp. They're like, we'll just cut school, nobody will notice. A full-on fucking panic and like deep state protocol went into effect.
They got
Everybody's
on
searching.
the milk cartons.
When they did that at the beginning of the chapter, I was like, well, that's not going to work. Like, these kids can't just skip school.
I was like, this is how you know
someone's immediately going to be like,
yeah, in this world in the 80s, nobody would have noticed these kids just cut school.
Either way,
but
though,
these
you're
kids
the political
specifically,
family.
they might have.
Yeah.
It's like the president's son decided to not go to school.
Yeah, and no one knows where they are.
It's like
both
two of the sons, and it's like, okay.
Or with Katie Holmes back in the day, is that a movie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's like that vibes.
Yeah, there's an entire like emergency phone call ladder in place for exactly this scenario.
Yeah, make sure you have your information updated for the phone tree.
The phone tree. Kids these days won't know what a phone tree is.
And then we finally see the other side of Juan as Horn, not just this purely tactical, like, mastermind guy. I thought this was funny that they're like, it's presented to us as, oh, look, he can be a violent Horn if he needs to be, and it's basically he's just mad at his nephew and his nephew's scared.
Yeah. Yeah, he summed this up pretty like succinctly and effectively. Just like they're like, oh, okay, we fucked up.
Yeah.
And then like Cross, I think they're afraid of their mom. They don't want Wen to find out about what they were doing.
It's like, please don't tell mom.
He loves the softie.
Or he's,
I mean, we got
more
a
into
little bit
antics.
of that, I think, last week,
Mm-hmm.
where they like,
Going to the friend's house.
yeah, going to the friend's house.
Just
Wen
bring your
was like
talent
a hard no, and it's like, all right, I'll ask Dad instead.
He's like, bring your gun. Effectively.
It's just a knife. I will stand on that.
Whatever. Yeah, right.
But I mean, that kind of paid off too, in that like we know that that Rue, despite not being a greenbone or anything or going to a martial school, is a respectable talon knife fighter. So
Yeah, I'd imagine
feels confident with it at least.
His dad is renowned for his, or his da, as they would say, is renowned for his talent fighting skills. They're at home together. The other kids are off at school. I'd imagine they spend a fair amount of time in the training hall working on their knife craft.
Trying to stab each other.
Pretty cute.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's giving him false confidence.
Yeah.
He shouldn't take on
Elaborate.
adults. If you're teaching your kid how to use a weapon, you should also teach them that the only time you should draw a weapon is when you like know you can win, or in defense.
Or
And
like
not-
if you're actually going to use it.
Yeah, and don't instigate a fight you can't win. I mean, it's so stupid.
We need to send them over Netflix, justified. Only draw your gun if you're going to use it, kid.
I think he knew that though. I think he was
just
prepared.
Ready. He was doing
I think he was. He remarks on like, my brother is one of the best students at his school,
He's like, we got this.
and I've got my talon knife skills. These are 3 unarmed,
But his brother doesn't
unjaded
have
individuals.
Jade on him.
He's like,
Yeah.
he's going to use the martial arts, and I'm going to stab these guys, and they're going to run away. He's like, these are. He also was like, they're clanless fuckers. They have no. He was like, they're soft. I think he was thinking, like you're just supposed to stand up to a bully and they'll run away. Probably the vibe he was going for.
Yeah, he mentions like a slight against your family shouldn't go unpunished or unanswered. He mentions that, and also like, regardless of if he's right, he did seem to calculate his chances.
But boy, is
Like,
he bad at
he
math.
overestimates himself, sure, but
And his
it wasn't
brother
like he
without
went in
Jade.
without thinking.
I don't know. It seemed pretty thoughtless.
The last
I mean,
thing
it just seemed like a 12-year-old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
14-year-old.
Again, with a gun. Not really a gun, but you understand.
an actual knife. It's like a butterfly
Right.
knife, kind of.
It's
but
a
bigger.
serious knife.
Yeah. The last thing I have, this is actually what Aaron was alluding to. I kind of erroneously grouped some other stuff in with it, but Rue's thoughts on Nico slipping in and out of his responsibilities as the firstborn, and how Rue isn't bitter about it because of clan reasons or that he can wear Jade, but just because he's like, I'm the one who always comes up with the cool ideas, and then this guy, whenever it's convenient, acts like he's the responsible cool one.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then you put that against what Nico did for Rue there, where he basically got him out of it, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
He
Or
took the
delayed it,
fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'll deal with them when they're really mad.
He tried to, but like we get later on, Hilo and Wen know exactly what's happening.
Mhm.
Like they
Yeah.
know exactly that Rue is the one that
Rue's
did
the
all of
problem
this.
child.
Yeah. But he still seems to have good intentions for sticking up for his brother. And this is also where we get the commentary on the call boys being really adept at lying
I was
by
about to say
omission
that.
only and not by
Mhm.
like actively lying. So Nico saying like, we were here for me. He's not saying it was my idea, but he was saying like, I'm the reason we're here. And it's technically true.
Yeah.
But
It reminded me of when Now rolls up to kill the guy launching the coup against Ait in the Van family, Van Hako, I think. And they just like sense the perception. Or do you perceive that? And it's just like another natural sense of perception, or another natural sense for these Greenbones, and how because their parents are Greenbones their fathers are Greenbone and their aunts and uncles are Greenbones, they have to become adept at lying without lying because they can perceive the actual lie.
Mhm.
So it's just like, it makes sense. It's a little hashing out of something to make
fits
this
into the
world
logic
feel
of the
real.
world. It
Yeah.
it maintains the canons of probability. Yeah.
If you're lying without lying, don't you know that you're lying though? So then the signs
Well,
of
maybe-
lying are the same, like your
Maybe
blood
because
pressure
they're
and
kids,
stuff.
they don't rationalize it that way. They're like, "Oh, I'm not lying. I just didn't tell them that." So it's not as guilt wrenching, and their parents aren't now suing. You know what I mean? You can't read minds.
But I think Juan kind of smiles, like he knows that he's lying.
Mm-hmm.
It's a knowing smile.
It's
for
it's
sure.
like okay, yeah, it was your
Yeah,
fault.
and it definitely.
We'll go
I
with
took away
that.
that like Nico would know that they knew, but would respect that he was acting like taking
Mhm.
responsibility, and so it was like a play on a play, and then also I feel like Juan knew that as well. It was
But
a
Rue
classic,
doesn't
I
get
know
it.
that you know that I know that you,
Yeah,
one
that's
of
exactly
those.
what I was going to say.
but at the same time, I still fucked with it at the end of the day. But that's all I got.
Got to be some respect there.
Respect on it. With that, we go to chapter 23, Friends of Friends, the 14th year, 6th month. So 3 months ahead. Aaron,
thank
in case
you.
you're keeping track. Okay, cool. Just making sure. All right. So when... I'm so sorry. Wen attends the Janloon Film Festival with Ren Jihura. The Abuke filmmaker makes several introductions, including one to Sion Kugo, co-owner of Cinema Shore. After a discussion, we flip forward to a vacation for Hilo and Wen to the jet-setting affluent island of Mercutio. There, they meet Cel Lucanito, a multimillionaire who owns Jade Sports and is well vested across many countries. We also then return with Danny Sinjo and a future there. His friendship, like we had talked about last week, is paying dividends for our incredibly strategic pillar woman. It's kind of a fun setup for Wen.
Definitely. I just did not see this coming at all, but it's a really good idea to start making positive Jade films.
Getting into the movies.
Yeah.
I like Mercutio. I think it sounds like a fun place with good parties.
Starting to try to win the hearts and the minds of the people, which is good. Trying to fight
Of the world.
that PR battle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this feels like a combination of Vegas and Hollywood somehow. Like the total Sin City of KCON, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not KCON. It
I
is
know, but-
separate.
It's on a different
And
continent.
it's not-
and right.
Yeah.
But it's where some Kekanese go to act in a way that isn't quite allowed on the island, as well as other nationalities. But
It's got a couple of similar vibes. I would say that immediately reminds me of Singapore as a location if
Yeah.
we had to draw a comparison. But in addition, in the Middle East, there are a couple of areas, and I forget what they're called, so apologies, of course. But there is basically a bridge that you go over, and there's a gem at the very top of the bridge that blocks out the Eye of Allah, and then behind that, for Muslim folks, drinking sort of more debaucherous behavior is accepted. And immediately it reminds me of that most clearly, in addition to Singapore.
Yeah.
Kind of has both of those.
It's
Or Hong Kong.
it's
similar
funny that
elements.
it's like in
Hong Kong or
Hong Kong. Yeah.
Bobby or
Yeah.
something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
KCON reminds me of Hong Kong. I don't know. I guess it's more of a town, but it's an island getaway for people who live on an island.
Yeah.
It's like going to from the big island to the small island.
Yeah.
I also
Going from
think that Wen has got her groove back, Ben,
Mm.
and now she's kind of manipulating Hilo into doing what she wants again.
To her old tricks. for
Yeah.
sure.
Like, hey, let's get away, babe. Let's go on vacation. Oh, let's just go to this party I didn't know about.
but now it's sanctioned, which is much better. It's okay, I
Right.
get it. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's not being as sneaky, but it was good to see her getting what she wants.
Mm-hmm. Could not agree more. Jumping back to the film festival for just a second here, I love that there's this sort of nature of these Shatarian films and the Barrakan gangsters being played, of course, by the Kekanese is very interesting. It reminds me of the sort of B-movie exploitation films of the 70s and 80s, in which you frequently had sort of the B kung fu movies, and then Toei, the Japanese film company, realizing that they had to rehabilitate their image in a very similar way, and this just feels like a sort of emulation of that in text form, and I really, really liked that as a small inclusion and small nod towards this that's been building since Jade War.
I didn't know about that. That's cool.
Yeah. It's a nice little touch, which I really appreciate. I love the quote here that we get as well about the why behind what we're doing here. Whatever we may think of it, people in other parts of the world are going to use Jade differently than we do, and some Kekanese are going to be attracted to those foreign ways. We fought the Mountain and Tipa Suiga and the Matayos Burakan and the Espenian crews. All of them have done things to corrupt the meaning of Jade. But maybe we haven't thought enough about how we can shape the meaning ourselves and use the modern day culture to our own advantage. The public relations campaign that Shays began in Hispania has begun to make me think how there's a different kind of war going on these days, a war of people's thoughts and feelings.
I thought that was great framing for Hilo, specifically, like the way that she set that up for him, because he is very much like Jade should be used this way and only this way, and all these people are perverting it. But she's like, that's going to happen. There's other cultures, and I just thought she did a really great job of explaining that.
Like, why don't we control the narrative?
Right. I thought it was really good move by Wynn there.
And I think this line of thinking comes directly from her extended time as a white rat, kind of forging her view on the underbelly of how the clan can operate and subverting the traditional values of Jade and K-Con and the clans, and not breaking the rules, but bending them and like finding advantages in seedy places.
Yeah, stretching it even a little bit further than that too. I mean, you don't have to go, I mean, I guess you do have to go back a little bit further, but thinking about what Doru was talking about back in Jade City and Jade War in his last days, like these are the seeds that he had planted at that point in the back of Shay's head that's made her think strategically about this, and now that's fed its way down to Wen and how they think. And so, you know, fuck Doru for all the reasons that he absolutely deserves, but at the very least, in some ways, strategically, I think he was correct, which is crazy. I mean, it's planned by an author, but it feels crazy in the context of the story.
He was a good weatherman, even though he was a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. So we get all of that. Of course, they go and they're hanging out. We get some news of an ambush in Liu Kang within the Six Hands Unity clan. This has kind of been popping up frequently, is that there's proxy wars that are kind of going on in K-Con around with other clans. And there's been this sort of hostile takeover that we even get more details at in Chapter 5. Do you guys have any thoughts at all on sort of the goings-on of the smaller clan violence?
I'm curious if this was there to let us know that this is still going on, or if there's something more that we haven't seen yet. Like, it felt abruptly out of place, like big enough that potentially it was going to end this trip, but no further documentation or information on it. So I don't know if that's a setup for later or just letting us know that this problem in Liu Kang is still happening. I'm not sure what to read on it yet.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree with PJ. I think that's pretty well said.
It was kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like the Liu Kang keeps coming up, so it's like, is something important going to happen there? But I can't see much.
Yeah, like why bring it up unless it was important?
So I'm curious as to where that's going to go.
Raising suspicion.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So as a final part of the discussion here, we've got Cell Lacanito, or Lucanito, of whom we meet, and he's this big fish in the rich, wealthy pond that needs attention and is given Hilo's attention. Meanwhile, Wen is able to kind of walk away and speak with Danny Sinjo, of whom is really the real prize here. What do you think the potential for him to become their star and the film industry being a new arm of No Peak to either sway or gain money or what have you? What do you think?
If you're going to make movies, you got to have a star.
You need a star.
Danny Sinjo seems like the guy.
starting the era of nationalistic propaganda films to get people to join the No Beat clan.
You could be a member of the No Beat clan.
You could be just like Danny Sinjo.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was a good scene where you see Hilo like finally being a little more diplomatic and not expressing his real feelings and kind of schmoozing back to.
It was interesting to see Hilo schmoozing.
Yeah, it's unnatural for him.
Right. But he's good at that type of thing with like his men and stuff. So
yep,
he's got the capability of it. So it's fun to see it in a new context.
The usage,
the knack
of the
for it, but not wanting to.
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Hilo will be a star.
Well, hopefully he didn't get too hurt by being buried under a bunch of rubble.
He's fine. He knew the blast was coming. He steeled up.
Yeah, I didn't hear that his face was torn up. He could do it.
Face for radio now.
Or podcasting.
PJ, you were saying the gen usage with Sinjo?
That genuinely surprised me. Genuinely. Aha. I don't know if that's just smooshing or if there's some genuine respect coming from Hilo. He doesn't seem like somebody to use something like that lightly, like an honorific like that.
Maybe he took Wen's speech to heart and recognized, in his field, he is a gen. He's worthy of that suffix.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It is wild, though, being like, hey, have you ever considered risking life and limb to be a movie star? In K-Dot.
You have a very, very promising career here. International acclaim. Great wealth. Come to my war-torn country and be...
a target because you wear Jade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also really want to give Danny Sinjo the ups as kind of a final note here for escaping effectively Remy's boxing ring to make it here to Mark QQO, be noticed, be included in Jade Sports, and then have worked his way up now to be a film star, right? There's a ton of other careers that are notable. You could talk about Jet Li, you could talk about, Bruce Lee, you could talk about Jet Li, you could talk about Jackie Chan. I mean, whichever way you want to swing it.
So
he seems to be
do you see it as
paths.
escaping, or do you see it as like the springboard of this boxing ring working as intended?
Well, do we think that Remy really wanted him to be springboarded?
That seemed to be his intention when he talked about it, unless he was like feigning that and trying to keep him contained. I don't know. But the way it was presented was like an incubator of sorts.
But what sort of intent then would Remy have? Is he making a revenue as a manager? Like where's that come from on the other side?
Him knowing that Danny Sinjo, or people knowing that Danny Sinjo came from that origin, will draw more potential talent to that place.
Sure.
And what's the time period
that
from
was
the
my
first
read on
time we saw Danny to now? It's like 7 years, 7 years. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
We're
6 or
between that
7
cusp
years.
of like
Just
6
checking in with you, Aaron.
Yeah. Definitely.
Be sure to look for Moonblade, starring Danny Sinjo, the 17th year, 3rd month.
With the sequel, Blood on a Clean Blade.
Hey.
Coming out on 5th day. 5th day. Come down to boat day celebration. The boat will burn. Anyway, that's all I got. That'll be.
That brings us to chapter 24. It's finally happening.
No, you can't say it that way.
Well, there's a reason for it, and I'll get into it.
I know.
Emma phones Barrow, inviting him over to her place, and he readily complies. After a brief conversation, the pair fuck, and Emma lets Barrow know that it is finally happening tomorrow, and gives him the location of the rendezvous point for the leaders of the Planless Future Movement and Malovny. Barrow leaves and informs his handlers that the plan is about to go off, but withholds the information about the rendezvous. So, it's finally happening. Does this refer to the explosion or
the explosion?
the explosion? Exactly.
Under quotes.
Can it relate to both?
Aaron, that's too much nuance for me, but I'm sure you're correct.
I just felt very bad for Emma that she had to spend her last night with Barrow.
I know. I have that in my
Yeah.
notes.
Well, no.
That's my
Then
first
in
note.
hindsight, you're like, oh, that was her last
Yeah, it's just tough for her.
fuck.
That was a tough 24 hours.
So,
Ugh.
to jump in here, my first note. Seems like Emma was having a pretty decent last night. You know, sweet bath going on, the nice smelling bubbles, little hoochie going on. Such that Barrow is seemingly the only person she should call for her booty call.
Yeah, you
She
need
doesn't have
better.
anyone else
Why
on the
don't,
contacts.
if you have all that money and gifts and
Hire-
stuff,
yeah.
why not you hire a professional?
That's what I was
Drink for the
thinking.
Hoji.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll drink to that.
I have a full cup here.
Me too.
There is a serious lack of self-awareness from Barrow when it comes to why is everything going his way very, very suddenly. Like there's no suspicion, or not enough suspicion at the very least. And I only imagined that he was being set up for something
I mean,
throughout all this.
for all his weird discussion of the gods that comes in a little bit later in this chapter, like, dude seems to feel like they're riding with him in a lot of ways. He's just like, yeah, whatever. It's the strange look of the gods whenever anything happens to him at this point.
Right.
Ever since the Elder Moot said that, he's like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in Jade Legacy, I'd, fucking over, what is his name? The monkey man who runs the double-double.
Aito?
I guess. Besides,
No.
no?
Not
Is that not
Aito.
it?
No. Aitin?
Aitin.
I-10, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Monkey
You were
man.
close. Yeah.
Despite fucking over the monkey man and, letting the Clanless Future movement vandalize the double-double and all that, he's been pretty good by his standards. He's been making a decent living, doing his thing. A little scumbaggy, but his internal monologue when he's like looking around Emma's apartment and sneering to himself because he's like, oh, all these nice things must be because she's getting
She's
gifts
a
from rich men.
whore.
Yeah, like just disgusting. Like it's just another reminder that like at his absolute core, he's a disgusting human being.
There was another line in there that I thought was even worse, where he's like, I'm still thinking about forcing myself on her.
Raping her. Yeah.
What the fuck?
I had to I had forgotten about that, and I had to check it back and be like, I cannot believe I said that Barrow 1 weeks. Like,
No, when he said
I
that,
felt
I was
so
like,
self-disgusted.
he said that, and I was like, man, I was just starting to like you again.
I feel like
God, you're horrible.
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I blocked that out of my memory even doing this chapter
Yeah.
because as soon as you were like the other line, I was like, oh shit, obviously that. But then I was like,
Yeah.
I just didn't even want to entertain it. as
You're just
remembering
like,
it.
what the fuck, man?
Yeah, just a truly evil.
Just like casually
Vile.
thinking about
Yeah.
that. It's just like, well, maybe
And
I
then
should force myself.
Now that we're on that, like, and then later
Who
on,
does that?
Later on, he's
Just
like, he
the
kind of
way.
wanted her to resist more too. Like, it's just
Right.
gross.
Yeah,
She's a
like
gross
while they were
dude.
having sex.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was all
He wanted more resistance.
Barrow.
just.
Wanted to work harder.
In hindsight, you have lost every week.
Yes.
And also,
You
yeah,
provoked
right.
your prize.
Also, his disgust at her not finishing because of him, and then taking care of herself.
Yeah.
Whatever. You fucking piece of shit.
just
Oh man.
he's got a lot to learn.
I think it's too late.
I
I think just
there's a brief moment where I was like, has Barrow had sex before? I genuinely don't know.
Has he?
It seemed like it.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know.
there is a funny quote in all this. While we're on the subject of it, as it was, the sets was fine, very good. It was sets after all, but a bit anticlimactic considering how long he'd had to wait for it.
That does make it seem like he's a virgin, actually. Now that
I thought-
we
I
put
think-
it out there.
I think they met with Emma specifically that he had to wait for it.
Yeah.
But it does seem virgin-y.
There's that other connotation. Yeah,
I think
especially because he's bouncing around in his head, right? The fine, great, indeterminate.
Yeah, but that's why I think it seems like he has had sets before because he's like, the sets was fine, very good. It was sets after all. seems kind of like, pizza is pizza, even if it's bad.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like he doesn't know what to make of it
Maybe.
to begin with.
Was
I
there
think that's kind of the...
I got the
Ever
feeling,
mention of him going to any of the brothels in the area?
Oh, yeah.
I got the feeling that it was
the
like
new green was there.
he felt
I
like,
feel like we'd know if he was a virgin.
Yeah.
Explicitly.
I was getting more
That's
of
fair.
like he's like one of those dudes that thinks women owes him sex, which is just like disgusting, and
Mm.
that's what like he was
Mhm.
nice to her, so she owes him sex. I feel like that was more his feeling.
It reminds me of, is it Joffrey? What's the bad baby king in Game of Thrones
Is Joffrey? Yeah,
with the whores and stuff?
he
Mhm.
more just likes to kill them.
But it seemed like icky,
Yeah, for sure.
like a young icky
Yeah,
guy. How old is Barrow at
He's-
this point?
He's like
He's-
30 at this
yeah,
point.
he's
30,
like
31.
What?
He's Landon's age.
Man.
I, can't,
That is also...
I
never
keep
thought of
picturing
that.
him like
He is 30, 31.
I
It's
keep
just
picturing him
extra
like
gross.
Fuck.
like 20. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is... I
because
mean,
he was a teenage, like he was like 16 the
Mhm.
first chapter of the first book,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And he still acts that way. So it's hard to
Right. Yeah. It's not
age
a
him.
lot of
right.
growth.
No personal growth.
It's like the Jade froze him in place in time. He became,
Yes.
a
Yeah.
Peter Pan adult. Yeah. Peter Pan syndrome.
But I mean, it's similar to like, the first time, if you drink too early, you can kind of get set in that frame of mind forever. Allegedly. So in the middle of his, gross behavior up top, gross behavior at the end, as he's looking around the apartment, he examines Emma's family photo. There's a discussion on it. They're on the deck of a boat. Her brother's mentioned. She mentions that her brother was executed. Cross, I think you had something more eloquent to say.
Yeah, for me, I think the brutal part about all of this is that it is, from Fonda's perspective, this is all brilliant foreshadowing, right? Like, there's just enough pieces that you could maybe put it together who exactly this is in the moment, and you can turn your head and be like, wait a minute. And then looking back in post, it's also like, this is sort of a desperate person doing the most desperate thing they possibly could, especially once we get into 25, and seeking revenge for a wrong. It is brutally sad in so many ways. And this chapter, despite its utter grossness from Barrow's perspective, is really one of like, just, for me, it's like despondent sorrow. It sucks to be Emma, and I totally can sympathize with that.
It's very humanizing for her.
Yeah.
Not to go all, Lorne Arcos on you guys, but death begets death begets death.
It does. Unless you kill everyone in the family.
But it's just these cycles of violence. I think that's like how that decision 10 years ago feeds into this. Now it's like this tragic thing that her life has become this tiny apartment obsessed with,
defined by
revenge, and just working up to this moment where she's going to sacrifice her own life to get some kind of piece of revenge that's not going to satisfy anything. And I don't know, it's just sad.
I just put it
Yeah,
together. That's why she had all those nice things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, looking, I remember, like, I was trying to think, like, who is this? But I definitely didn't put together the puzzle pieces there. But
No, yeah, it was a surprise.
sure, I like that they're there, but it's not so overt that.
You really don't know until it happens.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
the big trigger there, of course,
Well,
is the brother
I didn't-
Greenbone in the boat, right?
Right.
Like,
The brother, the Greenbone.
I didn't get it.
Did.
I didn't catch on to who Emma was until the handler says she was in the building when it fell. And I was like, oh, wait, she's the girl who stabbed her. I was like, oh. Because I was like, why was she in the building? Wasn't she in the van, That's like
she
how
uses
long
her
it took
full
me.
name. Yeah. PJ, you were saying?
I just find it kind of ironic that the two leftovers from transgressions against the different clans come together in this moment And
Oh
it's like,
wow, yeah.
That's
both
a
of these
great point.
motherfuckers should have
I
been
didn't even
killed.
think about
Kill
that.
the
Fuck.
teenagers. That's what
Yeah,
we've
close
learned.
up the
point.
loose ends. We are
Oh,
learning
Jesus.
about gang violence here.
That's
Yeah.
PJ's summary. Kill teenagers.
Lilith did nothing wrong. Question mark.
If these clans got behind killing more kids,
Yeah.
There would be less
things would be so much
issues.
smoother.
Oh, boy.
We have that literally on record.
Many times. Like, it would be hard to expunge
Someone
at
had
this
to do
point. Yeah.
In the
boy.
context of Jade clans,
If you are a gangster in Tayton,
you should kill more
And-
children.
children have transgressed against you, or the family of children have transgressed against you. Kill them, or at least don't send them into the fucking wild.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Keep an eye on
Keep
them.
them close.
Actually, yeah. Even
Yeah,
if they
turn
just
them
kept
into
an eye on
wards.
Barrow.
Yeah.
Do what Hilo did with Nico.
Or the loat. Kind
Right.
of.
Kind of, yeah. We also did a little bit of self-awareness from Barrow, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. So they're talking about why they're both so alone. And, Barrow's like, something always got in the way. And then I took it as taking a beat and then being like, kind of somberly, Jade always got in the way.
I don't know if it's somber. I can definitely understand that. I feel like he is placing the blame elsewhere and not realizing
Yeah.
that it's himself. He's blaming something else because he is this vile person that we see for the rest of the chapter. So my internal instinct is you lack self-awareness. But could that be Jade's fault still is a great question too.
I would agree.
Well, I think
mean,
all of the former friends he mentions were pushed away because of Jade. But it's Moot, it's Sampa, it's... I forget the
But
other
because of his
person.
greed,
Because of his
right? Like
his
right.
obsession with Jade.
Yeah.
Right. I
He-
think that's
he
how I
didn't
took
have
it, though, is he
to-
meant the obsession with Jade.
You
Is
didn't
implicit
have
when
to
you say
slash
Jade got in the way.
Sampa's tires.
Yeah. He's just such a little worm.
He's the snake that you stomped on, Cross.
I mean, yeah. It does, like...
but I
Jade might have
stomped
gotten
on
in
it,
the way
you know?
recently. He had no friends before that. It's not like people were checking on him after.
Right.
Right.
He was. I mean,
She
he's-
asks
I
if
think
he
it's
had
a
any
little bit of
family,
both.
you know? Yeah.
He's very.
I do think it's a little bit of
transactional.
both.
Yeah.
Right.
He's
Like,
like
it's the most self-aware he could be.
he sees other people as like how he can use them. It's like he's not actually looking to be a true friend either. So
He's just trying to get laid.
yeah, everybody's a
Especially
value
with Samba.
proposition for him.
I was like, where are you going with everybody? Started speaking, Ben.
So from that line of questioning, the idea of parents or a family never even crosses his mind. He just jumps straight to the people that he could have at one point considered friends. And from the jump, I don't think there's ever been any mention of family in Barrow's life.
He was living with an aunt after the events of trying to steal the Jade in the beginning.
Okay.
But
That's
like,
the only
It was kind
mention.
of weird. He was like squatting almost. It seemed like her boyfriend was harboring him for money almost because he was there when she wasn't.
Mm.
It was weird even then.
But he's so far removed from family, regardless of how it happened or why, that line of questioning brings him immediately to the three friends that he's had throughout the story.
Sort of my internal monologue for this, or my internal thoughts, is like Moot Senior is the closest he ever had to like a friend. I truly think. I think
Yeah.
everyone else like flirted with friendship, but Moot Senior was the only person who ever really looked out for Barrow.
And look where that got him.
And that was just for vibes. He was like, this guy
Dead son.
got too much weird stuff going on. I'm not messing with that.
Yeah.
Well, he like weirdly admired him, Barrow kind of wanted to be that guy. So
Mm-hmm. And then this chapter closes with Catfish, who I feel right using this name after how disgusting he was all chapter. He hates the name Catfish. It just feels right. Phones his handlers, lets them know, hey, whatever these fucks are up to, it's about to go down tomorrow. And keeps that little rendezvous thing in his back pocket should things go awry.
how are you this dumb that you don't think they're going to follow you or have someone follow you?
It's just, especially
Or
like,
even like look out for it. He
you've
didn't even
been
like
there
turn
for
around.
He's been doing this for 7 years.
Yeah.
It hasn't crossed your mind that you're being followed. You
Yeah.
think
Or
they
you
just
haven't noticed
trust you?
that someone's always following you for 7 years.
Especially when you're like, it's going down
dumb.
tomorrow, and they know you're not a trustworthy person. Just
oh my god, that wasn't self-awareness.
I feel like Rue and Barrow should hang out. They're both so stupid.
The lack of self-awareness.
Yeah.
I just loved it. This is later on, obviously, but when they show up and he's just like, whoa, you guys, how the heck did you get here?
How'd you figure this out?
All right. So with that, we get into chapter 25, The Great Strike, the 14th year, 7th month. The KJA meets. Ite is stabbed. Coben chooses a side. Hilo and Woon are buried alive. So
it's a very short summary.
Oh yeah, there's a lot that happens, but short and punchy, just to give you the whoo to get everything in.
This was good too. I really liked the way that she did this, because immediately when this starts happening, I'm thinking bomb, but then the stabbing happens, and you're like, oh, okay, that's it. Then you get the bomb again. Yeah, it's like, oh shit. So, that was really well done, I thought.
Yeah. Wait, there's a van. Oh no.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit.
Can I jump into it? So,
yep.
Cross, I'm curious if this happened to you too. Obviously, we knew what happened in this chapter, but it's so well done that I, for a second, was so wrapped up in the, like, Ike got stabbed, nobody's doing a fucking thing. Like, I knew what was about to happen, and I knew, but I was still, like, so absorbed into it that I forgot that there was this other threat going on.
I misremembered some details that I am more than ready to talk about once we get there. For some reason, I thought the penitents exploded in my head, and, like, they were wrapped into it, but, yeah. Not the van blowing up down the street.
Chanting.
Right, they were doing the creepy chanting, and then they exploded. I think it's because in my head, I imagined them getting consumed by the flames from, like, out the window as the building collapses. You know, I think that'd just be such a cool fucking image in a movie. And so I think that's where my brain went and why I remember it that way. But, oh my God. What a chapter, first off.
Yeah, so good.
And then
innocuous beginning.
This is obvious, but I want to say it to make sure it's obvious. The Barrow's handlers, they're the one who sent Hilo the note.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they mentioned, like, we warned our allies or something.
Terribly.
Yep. Your life's in danger.
To the
can we car bomb? I don't know. Well, I guess they
every
didn't know.
fucking day, dude. Every fucking day.
Yeah.
Is it because they didn't know what was going to happen? They just knew something.
Yeah, because Barrow didn't have specifics, so they didn't have specifics.
They were
I think.
like, get out of there. Yeah.
Could have called, like,
very good.
I don't know, an hour earlier before he went to the meeting. Don't be in the building.
Like, something's going down
something
today.
like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then No Peak would have been implicated.
Yes, if they're going to show up. And they would have been implicated if they fucking left.
There's so much. There's so many questions.
That tension there where it's like, where Ite's stabbed and then Hilo's, not letting anybody leave the room. That was really interesting. I was like trying to think through in my head, like, how is this? I feel like this is going to blow back on No Peak, like, big time. But then the whole building just blows up. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Solves that problem.
We got bigger problems.
It's so cool. Like, he's just there. Everyone's doing the mental math. Like, can I fucking take this guy? They're all like, no. But and then if we team up, like, am I going to get cut down from behind by one of the No Peak loyalists? Like,
that was the tension of that was fantastic.
Yeah. And then Hilo, like, feeling bad for Ite, like, she's dying and looking around. Like,
them's the breaks.
Sorry, you're a bitch.
And then, it's so cool.
It did feel like chess, though.
Yeah,
to a certain extent. Of like, I win by standing here, literally doing nothing.
And Coben too would win by doing nothing to an extent.
Right. That's
the big move that Hilo makes in that room is he wins over Coben. Yeah.
And like
he's like, out with the old.
We know that the Sith Sans Unity clan obviously knew men, but they were chafing under Ite's hands-on associated clans, like the little clans that they made that fall under alliance with the Mountain. So it's like, do they all kind of just win if Ite dies right now?
Right. Yeah, that calculus where they're all kind of like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the worst thing in the world.
And then it's like,
But no one expected her to jump out of the window.
It also, I mean, before we hit that, we're just kind of running all over the place, which, this is the chapter to do that with. There's something to be said, too, about the severe difference between the Nopi clan and the Mountain clan being the sort of blood loyalty versus the lack thereof for Ait. Ait leads through fear, and it's this moment of weakness where it's like, we don't fear you now, and we're willing to let that go. Versus if Hilo were in the same situation, there's the family and everyone else that would come for people if they, stepped out of line.
Yeah, it goes back to that line that was, I don't know, in the first book where they're like, we have our family. That's what makes us.
I think the second one.
Second book, okay.
It's in the first and the second. I think when reiterates that, and I think it's Hilo that says it the first time. Or something close.
Can we talk about how the Mountain Secret Service isn't doing a very good job letting Emma be like right next to Aimada?
Well, there was like a distraction that allowed her to get really close. It was Hilo.
It was Hilo sneaking out.
Yeah.
Well, that distracted Ait from her perception, perceiving Emma.
And she was also parading as a secretary who had, like, the secretaries in the room had been going through and like refilling teacups, and like they've been getting close to all the members of the council anyway.
Right, but nobody interviewed them all
with good reason.
Yeah.
How'd she get a knife?
Yeah. To do a little bit of sequentialness here to realign us on some of the happenings, I appreciate the fact that we're pulled into this to begin with from the Anorco meeting, right? Like, this is really about solving, first and foremost, the Anorco problem, which we found out that Jim Sunto has begun protecting the ships, right? Our motherfucker Jim. Yeah.
I thought that happened immediately. I thought that's like why he was creating the private security firm, because I misremembered.
Yeah. It's only one of those details that just kind of gets shoveled. This book has so much in it, which is such a great thing, of course, but it can blend together in moments. And yeah, fucking Jim Sunto, right?
Hilo knew he'd be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Should have detained him.
Should have just fucking killed him. That's what I said last week.
That's
like,
the moral of the whole book is kill all your enemies.
I just mean in
and their
fantasy
families.
stories, if you have beef with someone, you gotta kill them.
The other side of that too, though, is that like he respected him as a friend, which is the only reason that he walks away. Yeah, he'd been training with him for years. It'd be like your personal trainer going like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go start a rival business," and you being like, "You're really gonna fucking do that? I've been paying you for so long, and you're gonna go do that on me?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, okay." It's like, all right, fuck you then, but I'll let you go.
But in the real world, you can't murder everybody.
True.
Yeah.
Coben is just running his fucking mouth the whole time, just spouting ignoramuses to try to either sway the other minor clans or anything else. I also really appreciate just the general inclusion of the Six Hands and the Joseon clan in these moments, and seeing the smaller clans and seeing how they actually interact, because they're always described as in the room, but we get some moments of actual dialogue here from the other clans.
Can I say the nephew of the former pillar of the Six Hands Unity clan? Like, I need some fucking stones on you, my guy. Like, you've been in hiding for 7 years over this. Like, make one public appearance. What are you doing? Like, you're not built for this. You won't even go to a clan meeting with penitents. Soft.
Very soft. I agree.
The Mountain probably told him not to.
They made it sound like he's a scared
Aaron,
little
you took
bitch.
all my fun.
Stole it. Ran with it. So, as we mentioned, the paper shows up right in the middle of this meeting and says, "Your life is in danger. Leave immediately." Woon refuses to leave even after he's told to, but does decide to step up. Before, of course, that concludes, Hilo flips and is on edge in that moment. Woon doesn't even make it out of the door, and Ike gets stabbed in the fucking throat. Emma then gives her wonderful little speech, of which is, effectively a revenge, "this is why you deserve to die" moment. And before she gets to get all of the words out, Aitmata's hand latches around the girl's throat in a grip of crushing strength. With an almost inhuman cry, she spun and smashed the back of the woman's head into the edge of the heavy table with so much force that the thick, black, polished wood cracked along with the girl's skull. Blazing with explosive jade energy, Ait hurled the limp body into the nearest window. It hit the glass with a sickening, meaty thud, creating a spiderweb's pattern of cracks before dropping like a heavy sack on the carpet.
Ouch.
Nuts.
That's some Pierce Brown level violence.
Meat carpet.
I kind of pictured like the table. I know it obviously doesn't, but like splintering, almost like maybe
cracking
from where the
around her head, right? Like
that part
impact
falls
crater.
off.
Yeah, impact crater.
Yes, for sure.
And then just fucking into the window is incredible. Like stabbed to the throat. Boom.
Slides down.
I think she bounces off.
That's amazing.
The human that she was demeaned to a fucking piece of garbage.
Aitmata's pretty scary.
50.
Oh, she's incredible.
She's not just 50, she's
a
like
bad bitch.
Isn't she a small woman?
I think smaller. Oh, no, she's tall. She's as tall as Andon, who's taller than most.
I was picturing her like an old frail lady who's like,
she's fucking stabbed in
She's
the
a bad
throat.
motherfucker.
She really
Probably
is.
past her prime a little bit.
That's-
Just boom.
Plus the jumping out the window, like landing on a car and then running off.
Yeah.
You're just like, holy
Picture
shit.
at that part with like robes.
he
flowing
was even
behind her,
like, he was like, oh, fuck.
What the fuck? Yeah.
yeah.
That felt very wounded Hulk-like.
Yeah, she's so cool. Honestly.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
What a crazy.
I'm team I, even though she's scary.
she's a great
I don't
villain.
like when she talks, I'm trying to like I'm out, and then whenever she does stuff, I'm like I'm in.
Yeah.
Say less. Literally.
Like, literally say less.
The penitents shouting "Heaven has seen" in sort of their weird. I just imagine it as this sort of like robotic tone, and the way that
Heaven
Kilo
has
quickly
seen.
reflects
Heaven
and is
has
like
seen.
just in this moment of panic where like he reconsiders just briefly again like the impact of the gods in the moment, and it's clear that he's flirting with that like agnostic line more and more, and I like that like nice little flourish there where everyone in the
especially-
room, as it's described, is pulling their earlobes.
Can we?
Especially on the second read of this, that moment, and thinking back, like when I reread it and got to the Barrow chapter again, and her very sudden question of like, do you believe in the gods?
Mm-hmm.
Like that made this whole thing click. It's like, all right, she doesn't give a shit at all. Like even if she believes in it, she's like has disdain for the gods and is totally okay with this transgression against them in their view.
Tough for her family though. The entire
Well, they're all
bloodline
dead.
just
Damning everybody
They're
in
all
her
dead.
like
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aaron,
like
you're saying-
Is Coben her horn or
He's kind of like just
weatherman? Who's her weatherman? Who?
Effectively the pillarman. Iwe
So-
Kalundo is still the weatherman.
So yeah, I guess in this meeting, it's like, why is Woon there and not Shay? I guess Shay just had a baby.
right.
So
That's why.
So normally the weatherman would be there. So who's Aitmata's weatherman, and why aren't they there?
Iwe. Yeah.
So this happens in the book. Shay notices that, normally the weatherman would be here, but it seems like because he's so skilled at manipulating and like the messaging of everything that she brings
likes to
into
bring
the
Coben.
KJA meetings now
Yeah.
too. Trying to be her mouthpiece. Get the,
She doesn't have to say
Okay.
shit because Coben will do it all.
Yeah, and
And
be the
it
bad
kind
guy
of reinforces that it's very much a hierarchy over there where it's like Ait's controlling like everything.
Right, because you'd think if she had
Mm.
a loyal weatherman, then she'd at least have some help.
Well, she's not even really like taking in it's not like they're giving advice. I don't feel like it's just like
Yeah,
she's taking all of it
Taking
in
orders.
and making decision. Yeah.
yeah.
They're executing her vision.
And it's like insulating her from the nastiness of what Tobin says to a degree.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was just thinking, like, why was Coben there and not a weatherman?
He's her hype man.
Because that might
like
have.
Kilo sees him as an opening band.
Yeah.
That was cool. I like that. And it was cool to be like, Hilo does the concerts. That's cool.
So we get to the part that we've talked a little bit about here, but we talked about the tension of the moment where Hilo stands in front of the door and everyone kind of doesn't know what to do as Hilo kind of seizes this opportunity to maybe put his enemy down for good. Even Kobin is willing to seize the opportunity when Hilo says, out with the old, in with the new, showing full well of where his aspirations for his family lay, and that is in the grave with Aitmata. It is just so perfectly executed where it's very clear that, like, sure, he's this mouthpiece, he's this opening band, but he is going to be the headlining act and will, by omission, by negligence, take that spot.
Yeah, this is pretty cold snake behavior out of Hilo, but I mean, it's necessary. Think about all the harm Aitmata's done. So it's cunning, which we know Hilo is ruthless and cunning. So it's just, I think he's
that was I love that part.
He's making bold moves, seizing on the opportunity, but it is also distracting him from the fact that his life's in danger.
Yeah. Which
Out
is
with the old
ultimately
and with the new. Copen's like,
how
oh,
the
I love
Yeah,
him. I
and
love
he
like
just
Kobin
cringes.
just doing the math in his head, like
yeah, they're all mathing real hard.
right.
And this cruel, friendless woman in this moment, realizing the sort of machine that she's built and headed for so long, looks at everyone of whom is unwilling to do anything, leaps out the spiderweb crack that she created right over top of her attempted murderer's and assassin's body that is just laying slumped there against the window, and lands on a van which explodes shortly thereafter. What the fuck? Burying all of them alive, and Hilo, just as he promised after the wedding, the first thing he thinks of is his wife, and then he flashes to his kids before he's piled with rubble.
I know, when he saw the van, he like backed pretty slowly. I was like, he should have been like, lightness. So I think, and I was thinking, it's a good thing Woon was in the hallway. That's probably what saved him, right? And then Hilo knew to steal up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he was like, that shit's about to explode.
Mm-hmm.
It's going down for real. Boop, 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 boop. That's the building.
That's just such a good chapter. I wish we'd have talked about it this entire episode. At the same time, it feels well covered.
Yeah. We don't know the body count yet, right? Like who all,
We start getting some news on it
like who from who, where from where, who survived, who died.
that the Kobins died, right?
Or-
Kobin died.
I don't know that it does. I think that they say that the only two that they've found later in 2028
Or the pillars.
is Woon and Hilo. Yeah.
They
The pillars died.
The
Yes.
pillars.
But they were,
Kobin was found dead.
Kobin was
Okay.
not.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
I didn't
Okay.
think he was,
So-
but okay.
Let me.
Thomas wanted to bring some up.
I did want to bring something up. Now I
He
forget.
texted me about it because I thought it was next chapter.
so
My bad.
Basically, Kobin dies here, and I feel like thank God for himself that he died in the rubble and not at Ait's hand after the
Right.
if he survived this, imagine what hell he would be in for, and imagine what hell his entire family would be in for after now she saw the folly of mercy.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I think he's still damned forever, according to the gods, right? So, we've got
Why
that
is-
going for him.
Why is he damned forever?
Not taking honorable action for his pillar.
I mean,
yeah,
sure.
there was like a line
Yeah,
on
you're
that.
right. In the Temple of Divine Return, you're right. All of them that didn't act.
I don't know. You're not supposed to spill blood in front of a penitent, right? So would he be in trouble for doing that to save his pillar?
He
We
kind
need
of
some
damned
lawyers.
if you do, damned if you don't, huh?
Let's get some
sounds like it.
penitent lawyers here.
That's why they had to
Has
math
anyone
so
studied
hard.
bird law?
Bird law. There's your meme.
Chapter 26. Natolva.
Nico.
Barrow goes to the address Emma gave him down in the docks, hoping to flee the country with her and the other leaders of the Clanless Future movement, only to be denied by Malovny. After blowing his cover, Barrow is saved on the brink of being killed by his handlers and some Espenian special forces who had tailed Barrow, knowing that he'd hold out on them. Despite initial reluctance and over his protests, Barrow goes with the Espenians for his own safety as reward for his services the last 6-odd years, 7 years. So,
did he have a choice?
No.
What are his
No.
options?
That's fair. I wasn't sure how to really characterize that with despite reluctance and over his protests. Trying to grab that, but
yeah.
Yeah, but the other guys were like, we'll kill him if he says no.
Yeah, basically. It felt very much like they had their hands on their guns waiting for him to turn around. Barrow goes to the rendezvous point early, not expecting anyone to be like, just classic Barrow's a fucking idiot, I felt like.
Yeah.
She said go here at 4. There's super spy shit going on. And he's like, I'm going to ignore all of that.
I don't want to miss it. Get there at 3.
And what else is he doing? He's bored.
Like, just fucking stake it out. Get there early and look. He's like, nope, no, knock on the door.
What a turd.
He thinks Emma's there waiting for him.
Where's Emma?
Then, Emma, you're my hero. So he meets Malovny. Malovny's like, does some math of his own. He's like, I can't leave this body here. Like, just fuck off. Barrow slips up, ultimately. But before that, I did think that the bit about Malovny genuinely, like, he can't bring Barrow with him. He's like, you fucking idiot. Like, if I bring you, they'll just shoot you.
Yeah.
I gave them the exact number. It felt like real spy shit to me. Like, another thing that drowns the world in the actions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, literally trying to smuggle people out of a country, you need to have an itinerary and, like, flight list. Like, you can't just stow away on this journey, regardless of if we have space. It's not about that.
Like, bro, we'll all get shot if I bring you.
It also fully shows that Emma never intended to come back, right? Like, this was, she wasn't on the itinerary. This was the end for her, no matter which way it swung.
And didn't intend for, like, she's smart enough to understand what was going on. Like, she didn't intend to, like, just give Barrow a way out. This was totally a go take down Malovny for me.
Yeah, that
she
was
knew
interesting.
that he was a spy and that he was being tailed and all that.
Emma's smart. She was ready to die. She probably didn't know she was going to get her head smashed and her throat crushed.
No.
It's so interesting to me too, just from Emma in general, that like she, now that we're out of this and into this a little bit, that she is really the revolution that Barrow always wanted to be, but was too much of a coward to ever, commit to. Is
and
just
Barrow's
such an
too
interesting.
Obvious.
Yeah,
they would have smelled him
he's
from
so
a mile
surface.
away.
He's so surface.
They would have been like, dude, your aura is fucked. You cannot come in here.
It's also, I thought this chapter was a tough look for the planless future movement. Barrow's like, you didn't do shit, and Malovny's, what the fuck are you talking about? I did everything. Brought in money. Like, it seemed to me that without Malovny, these guys would literally just still be handing out pamphlets and hoping people showed up.
Agree, yeah. He's a full-on
New
terrorist.
Green round 2.
Yeah.
New Green.
Malovny.
So was clanless future started outside of Emma? Like, she's just using them? Like, or was this all kind of driven by her family being executed? Like the clanless future stuff?
I think she
Clanless
realized.
Future movement, she joined it later, like after Barrow did. Barrow joined it as like one of the first 3 or 4 people.
Okay. So she was just
saw it as
saw an opportunity.
In that one bar. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it got hijacked by radicals.
Yeah.
So Barrow blows his cover, and he's about to be killed when the Espenians swoop in. They do some cool special forces shit. I thought that was a cool scene.
right out of a movie.
And Malovny was doing cool shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like he got shocked and then he did the deflection and like got the spikes out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was going to kill himself.
Yeah, that's honestly why it's cool is all the stuff Malovny's doing and seeing the Nikolva in action.
Mm-hmm. Nikolva is the name of the equals to the angels, right? The dust eaters, right?
The Dust Eaters. That's pretty fucking metal. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
That's
he's
what
like
they
a
should call
Like
themselves.
green bone, basically.
the like half breeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they eat the jade powder.
Angels or whatever. The equivalent to the Espenian angels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. or the answer to them, however they referred to it.
Yeah. And
it's just great to see them too, because we've heard about them so much, and so to see them in this moment, it's very much like, oh, this is a real threat. This is a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah, to see him not just talk and do like spy manipulation stuff, to do like action hero spy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool to see. And another new look at how Jade can be used outside of the ways we've seen it, which is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, once the action is over with, once the danger is clear, Gallo and Berglund roll up, dressed up nice, but they got guns on their hips this time, looking very officious. And they feel to me very much like, you're watching a spy movie. They feel like the dickhead spies that are like almost secondary antagonists in the movie, where like we're following this sort of roguish renegade. Like, our hero spy doesn't necessarily play by the rules. They get framed for a crime they didn't commit, and then now here come the dickheads who they've had not so friendly banter with to bring them in.
Dickheads.
Yeah. The arrogant, like,
Yeah, that's a good call.
suits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like borderline unfriendly, but like not quite evil. They're not good dudes. And I'm ready for the spin-off. So Fonda, my gal, let's talk. Let's talk about it.
The Gallo and Berglund spinoff.
We need it.
Very
Slide
Hobbs
down
and
to
Shaw.
Tova, doing cool shit. That's all I had, though. We should probably more on topic things to talk about if there's anything people felt like I missed. But that's where my head went to.
Yeah, so they very efficiently strip this apartment of everything. These jackbooted thugs going through and just
Yeah,
strip searching the place.
On foreign soil.
Since they captured Malovny, are they gonna do like science experiments on him?
I got that vibe.
It seemed like it, yeah.
Like that's why he was gonna shoot himself instead of be taken.
Yeah, and also, probably they're definitely in a torture. Make him reveal secrets.
The most interesting thing to me out of this was just like how strategic the Espenians were, and like that they didn't really care that the clans had been bombed and like the pillar was going to be dead. They were much more concerned about getting this Yucatanian agent and getting as much information out of it as they could.
Well, they're only worried about their own country,
Right.
but they did send Hilo a nice little note.
Right.
Given all of the kind of teases we've seen with the friction, the Espenians want more Jade by any means necessary. Do you think there's anything to how close to the vest they played that bomb threat? And how they're not really doing much in the aftermath?
I don't think they'd be upset if all the clan leaders died.
Right, because then they probably find it easier to manipulate.
And then people stop blowing up their boats.
And the government at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Get their hands on more Jade
Seems
if they're
like
all dead.
A calculated, we're technically helping our allies here kind of move.
But we got the news moments before. We did everything we could.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was a while back at this point, but I had made the analogy of the sort of 9/11 moment of sorts, and this has the feelings of that cultural sort of impact in a big way that I'm sure that we'll feel for a while. At the same time, there being this simultaneous background action from the Espenians is just like this massive question mark of where that loyalty really lies. And Aaron, your point about the fact that the only thing that they could do is to send the note, I feel like just reinforces the fact that, Jade is ultimately more important than any relationship they could manage or maintain.
Thanks for nothing, Spennies.
Bunch of
Spennies
fucking...
just feels like a real slur. Don't like it.
What, Spennies?
Yeah, like Catch and Spennies, like they feel real. You know what I mean? Like they feel...
The Kex especially, it just feels...
Yeah. Not a fan. I feel bad saying it.
I know.
Yeah, totally. I totally get it.
Spennies reminds me... I'll do the tut for this, but Spennies reminds me of when they call coppers pennies in Red Rising.
Sort of the derogatory.
Yeah,
but,
and they're both so obsessed with money too.
Yeah, that's right.
Or like bureaucracy, at least.
Yeah, that tracks.
Anyway,
the
I can understand that.
To close it.
Kappas? Kappas.
Nope.
Yeah. Bunch of fucking kappas. All right. We go into chapter 27, Heaven has seen. We return to Shay, just informed of the bombing of the KJA building by her aging mother in the TV that she watches. Visiting the scene of the crime, she finds Lochin organizing the rescue with the assistance of the Mountain Clan. She then wanders by habit to the Temple of Divine Return and finds an ailing Aitmata. I want to start this off just by taking a second to talk about Wanria, right? This is the first time that we've really seen her in a while, and I think that there's something very interesting. We've got Shay's newborn, of course, but Wanria is not in the best shape, and she's holding the newborn Tia, looking to Shay to make sure that everything is okay. I can't help but think immediately of how frail these two people are and how they appear in Shay's eyes as these sort of delicate things that need to be maintained. And there's something... the child makes sense, but there's something brutally painful and helpless about mom having always been that way, especially when we get the line about, sort of the deadening of her eyes. It really hurts, I think, more than it should, at the very least in my perspective, for Wanria to have to, potentially live through this again, but just being so helpless for her entire life.
And just Shay's not even able to, talk to her like an adult. She's kind of like, don't like a child, don't believe anything you hear, I'll be right back,
just very fragile.
Yeah, she's fragile. Shay can't be like, hey, Hilo is in there, but we don't know what happened. She's keeping her in the dark, which feels worse for the mom to be so boxed out.
I wonder how much of it is also Shay just not wanting to verbalize her dread of the possibility of what's going on.
There's definitely that too. I just think that it's this cycle of things. She's always outside of the clan despite being in the clan. And so she's a prisoner of the system, of her own family in a way. I can't help but think about Nico's mom potentially being stuck in the same situation if she decided to come back, right? If Lon had survived and if she had stuck with the family or what have you, I think we just see a role reversal. And so in some ways, I do think that Hilo spared her. Looking at Wanria, I can't help but think that she was spared potentially a worse fate.
Yeah. And that was kind of the point, right? Isolating herself, putting her... physically removing her from
that's why she did what she did.
Moon
and was removed. It's a brutal, I don't know, to me it's one of the most emotional images, especially the pairing of this kid of whom Shay wants to insulate from this and seeing what insulation does at the same time.
Right.
So I also really enjoy the emergency rescue mode that we find ourselves in moments like these. We talked about it earlier, but the phone tree call that goes on to evacuate the family. I just had this moment reading it because I wrote these notes this morning. My brain immediately went to sort of 9/11 for me and the sort of distinct tons of kids being pulled out of school called and, the eventual half day that day ended up being for that event. And I don't know. It just felt like anything could happen. And so everything stopped.
Yeah, it definitely got the same feeling as well, reading it.
Mm-hmm. It was a weird one. We make our way nearer to the scene. And the Greenbones, without leadership needing to tell them, because most of leadership is, buried under the rubble, dead under the rubble, or otherwise in the Temple of Divine Return, as we learn later, are self-managing and helping each other out because they've grown more accustomed to working together over the course of the subsequent years under the horns. Aisho, in a moment like this, really does show that it is truly about order, first and foremost, and honor. And this being dishonorable, it's all about saving as many as they can, helping out, and everything else.
Yeah, I really liked the barking of orders that come here, and you understand we're working together, but still we're personally checking every square inch of this place.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not at odds with the mountain in this moment, but we're not going to trust that they cleared the building without any without personal assurance that our people aren't there. So yeah, it's a weird collaboration with tension.
But I think they probably are working together better than they would have if they hadn't had the mutual destruction of the boat goal.
Right. Yeah, there's already some precedent there.
Yeah.
I also liked the structure of, we know that you'd be able to physically exert your strength and get people out of this rubble, but we need you to have your perception about you. So blow your whistle, let the fire people take their like tools and dig people out of the rubble and focus on finding auras.
It's kind of like the green bones are the search and rescue dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They use their sniffers, or like in an avalanche, they're the Bernese mountain dog, and they sniff them out, but they don't dig them out.
Mm-hmm.
Great point. I also really appreciate Lote being the one leading the rescue of Hilo. When back in Jade City, he would have just as soon have sold them out, right? Like he wanted nothing to do with the clan. And there's something sort of full circle about the way, it could have been better for Hilo to have potentially died in this situation and to not have this man, as we maybe see the clans die all at once and the world heal a little bit from some of the wounds that they've left. But on the other side, because he nurtured this man into a fist and helped him grow as a part of the clan, he's really come around on that opinion, has become this more whole person. I don't know. It's an interesting thought.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. His development has been fun to watch.
I think he's probably, to me, he's one of the most interesting side characters to focus on, is
For sure.
Just the way that he's changed and grown over the course of the series. He's a good measuring stick. So we move to Ait Mata dying in the Temple of the Divine Return as Shay wanders her way over, half asleep, basically, as she returns to the place that she always goes in times of trouble. And Ait is doing her best to keep herself alive by channeling back into herself, which is a rare ability. Ait admits as well that this was her fault, and then she immediately compares Emma to Shay and the mistakes of underestimating another woman.
Kill those kids.
I thought this was
Shay wasn't a kid to be killed.
No, I know, but Emma was, and
Yeah.
Barrow was, and you got to tie up those loose ends.
I thought
Aaron.
it was interesting that Shay wanders over there and she kind of sees it as a sign from the gods to kill Ait, but instead of seeing it as Ait would have died without her help, so her wandering over there maybe was the gods wanting her to save her. But she saw it as no one's here, I should kill her.
Mm-hmm.
The gods have turned her way. But if she
I
hadn't
like that math.
if she hadn't walked in there, I would have died channeling into herself.
Yeah. The channeling into herself, I was just imagining like the dam is breaking. You're like trying to plug different holes, but then it water starts spouting out over here.
Apt.
I really...
So,
Go ahead, Beach.
oh, I was going to say the thing that I'm wrestling with here is Ait is realizing that her mercy is what put her into this dire situation in the first place. And that doesn't bode well for reciprocity in this rescue mission that Shay has had helming for Ait. What is the end game here? Is she hoping that this is going to teach her to
That definitely comes in the next
respect?
chapter to some degree.
Fair.
That's
Good
definitely
point.
a discussion for 28, but I think that will be something interesting to talk about once we actually make the move there. For me, I wanted to focus on the sort of religious aspect of this, right? We've talked about the way that all of these different people are swinging the gods' opinions, which is to say, everyone has a completely different read on what the religion means to them, and as such, does it mean anything outside of random happenstance and just luck, like we've been focusing on from Barrow's perspective? I mean, do they mean anything at all? Period. I don't know. It's interesting to think about the religious aspect of all of these chapters we covered this week.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone views it as chance, is it really chance?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not choices. Yeah. Anything else on Ait bleeding out on the ground and being saved in this moment? Shay choosing that path as opposed to strangling out her enemy.
It's just a beast.
Let me say, could not be me. I would be in the ground.
Yeah, I agree. And like, truly, I think Shay's correct course of action would have been just to leave. Like, same deal with Hilo. Standing there doing nothing kills our enemy.
Like,
and Shay could
crazy.
have just left, and like, her interacting in any way was a mistake.
Yeah, there's just that additional calculus that was going on with the fact that like
Hilo might be dead.
And so then the
culture
country
dies.
is in disarray.
No, I thought it was really smart on Shay's part. And
I thought it fit her character too.
yeah, but like I said earlier, it would have been like uncharacteristic of Shay if she had gone through and killed her or left her. Like, it's in Shay's nature to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's mercy for your murderous enemy. And then I also thought that it's also in Shay's character to like do the opposite of what Aimata says. So when Aimata's saying no mercy, that's when she's like, I'll do the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It's fair.
Yeah, it would have been especially an abrupt turn for Shay after reflecting on Morrow a few chapters earlier and then being like, hey, I'm going to cold-blooded kill this person. Even despite all the transgressions.
Yeah, I think it'd be hot-blooded because of all the pain.
Yeah.
But yeah,
she does talk
kicking
about
someone
how,
while they're down.
Right. She talks about how both pillars being killed at the same time would throw the entire country into turmoil. But she doesn't. I think part of it is she doesn't want the responsibility of Pillar thrust upon herself. But this would give No Peak the like very clear leg up in having a very like defined progression and succession to the pillarship in Shay, as opposed to Kobin, who also dies in the rubble and was in the meeting. Like, the Mountain Clan is in turmoil, but No Peak has succession very clearly in place.
Well, even
the only thing I would say is
Yuro.
Yeah, Yuro wasn't the intended successor. Right. It would have been his son, but yeah.
But it would have been the 22-year-old with no, like, without the figure, like, without the leadership of his uncle to guide him and shepherd him.
So, I mean, that's more to the benefit of No Peak. As long as Shay's willing to take the mantle of Pillar, which is the whole thing, is that she doesn't want to or doesn't feel ready to.
Well, and she's weak. It doesn't have her Jade on. She's like, this is a really bad time.
So I think this, to Ben and Aaron's point, this makes sense for Shay's character. And I think it is the move that I would expect her to make, but I still think it was the wrong choice.
It's definitely tough.
Fair enough.
Speaking of wrong choices, it brings us to chapter 28. Make your choice. So Shay tasks Andon with the unbelievably ironic and frankly unenviable task of saving Aitmata's life, which proves to be no easy feat, but still quite manageable for our superhero Andon Emery.
Hell yeah. During
a lull in the life save, Shay prepares to leave, and we did a little update on the chaos around Janloon as the clanless strike as the scattered, helping around with the cleanup and rescue missions around the city. And Shay returns later in the evening with now Suen, Ait's only real ally in seemingly all the world. As the pair are ready to leave for mountain territory, news comes in that Hilo and Woon have been found alive. And after a tense moment, Andon allows Ait and Now to leave. So, a lot going on throughout this chapter, and let me think. There's a lot going on. Obviously, I feel like the thing we want to talk about the most is how it ends, and that decision Andon makes. But if we can, let's avoid that for a little bit. And I'm curious how Ben, Aaron, PJ, not necessarily in that order, how did this chapter read to you? Like, as you're going through it, the emotions that hit you, and in struggling with this decision, whether to save Ait or not, how much effort to put into it, all that stuff.
I think this is a chapter that solidifies Andon's oaths as a doctor as opposed to a greenbone, to not be beholden to a clan and to treat the wounds and save the lives of the people that are under his care, regardless of their personal beliefs. And yes, Andon is very close to no peak, but his assertion from a couple chapters ago, from last week, when he was in the deposition with the senators or assemblymen or whatever their title were, questioning whether or not he was an agent of no peak, effectively. This I think gives some tangible proof that his morals and what he's learned and pledged as a doctor go beyond clanship.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself weirdly cheering for them to save Aimata and wanting that plan to work out. So, and I just felt like it was two great characters as far as Andon and Shay. I don't know. There was something about that combination that felt very right as the two people making the decisions here. And I just thought it fit really well with their development throughout this entire story.
And it's good that the calls have a trusted doctor.
Mm-hmm. Who's incredible.
Who's discreet and who's 100% on their team, and part of the family. So he became quite an asset. And yeah, I think with his oaths and everything and his oaths to himself, it was surprising that he even at the end of this considers hurting someone after he staunchly has decided to never kill anyone again.
Right.
Very well said, all three of you. I think that's sort of how you're supposed to feel, that evolution of you're rooting for Andon and Shay to succeed. You're these two, they're so smart, they're so rational.
Mm-hmm.
Often it makes sense that even though they're kind of begrudgingly saving her life, you're in their frame of mind where you're we have no choice. We need to do this, keep the country together. And then how abruptly it turns on a dime at the end.
Right.
And how, for a moment, Shay and Andon don't even realize that it flipped on a dime like that.
Yeah.
They're so relieved that their loved ones are still alive. And then because now it's fuck.
Mm-hmm.
They're oh, yeah.
So we heard about how stressed Ben was about the survival of Hilo and Woon right at the beginning. PJ and Aaron, where were you guys at throughout these chapters?
I was just assuming they were gone and thinking about the progression. I felt like that still... I've been talking a lot about the Hilo and Wen's children and the title of the book of Jade Legacy, and I thought this was the then catalyst of the rise of the children leading the clan. Maybe we'd get another time jump into them being in more prominent places within the clan, whatever it might be. But I really thought this was the tragic origin story of the leadership of the children,
No. Yeah. Sure.
Hey, we got 400 pages left. Who knows?
Yeah. And truly, I still don't
full morning
necessarily believe that Hilo is going to survive. He's been found alive. He and Woon have. I don't know if that necessarily means they're out of the woods.
Don't you wish that evil on me?
No, I thought they would be found okay. That's just who I am.
I kind of was first of all, it'd be very cruel to kill Woon Poppy. So I was I think at least he's going to survive.
Well, I kept thinking too about the circumstance. So Woon was in the hallway. He wasn't in the immediate blast zone. So at most, maybe the building.
But the building just
right. But
down the whole.
Shay even says there's hallways that are standing right next to it. And I don't know. I was thinking too, they're both green bones, so they can steal against getting crushed.
It's going to be very sad if Hilo went out like that.
Yeah, seeing it coming and not reacting fast enough. No, but I thought they would survive.
Yeah, there is the irony of Hilo dying to a car bomb after his obsession with not dying to a car bomb after
Ken.
Kane.
Make Kane.
Make 10 to us.
Yeah, Ken.
So
To the real ones.
I don't know
yeah,
if we can be the
that would have felt really bad.
The other thing that I want to bring up here that I didn't think about until right now, and it just passed through my brain, is this moment, this Clanless Future moment. Sure, it's pinned on Ite, but actually it's Hilo's fault for bringing the Vens in the way that he did and then getting them killed. And so this is as much comeuppance for Hilo in some ways as it is for Ite, because Hilo knew the game that he was playing with the Vens, and he knew that it was a dangerous one. And so side consequences, right?
Yes and no.
I'm going to ignore that.
That doesn't feel genuine. Like, how can you assume that a survivor of the family that
It's not about
went against the clan
it's not about
joins
assuming
the-
it. It's not about assuming it from his perspective. It's about the meta from the. This would have never
He set up the
happened had he
events.
not engaged Ven to begin with, right? Like, this would have never gone this exact direction
I
had
still
he
think
not
it
held
could
those
have.
meetings. Emma would
I
have
still think
never
it would
saw.
have.
Okay,
Emma
sure.
wouldn't have, and it wouldn't have. Like, Ite probably would have died in this explosion.
Yeah, I probably doesn't
if
get
Emma
stabbed.
wasn't there.
That's probably the only difference.
Sure.
Because Malovny wasn't there for Emma. He was there for the other ones.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I guess, yeah, I was thinking more about the Ven side of things.
You can blame him for Ite surviving.
I did
Yeah.
think it was interesting.
Actually,
Ite
you could-
surviving is that
Fuck.
is
You
the
could blame.
reason.
I think
It's also funny because... Oh, sorry. You go, Aaron.
I was going to say, I think it's funny that Emma actually ended up saving Ite's life
Hilo.
by stabbing her.
And I.
It's just... Yeah, it's tough. Poor... Hilo survives. Ite survives. Both of them, during this chapter and throughout the books, curse how the other one routinely survives despite everything they throw at one another and all the attempts at each other's lives, all the trickery, all the subterfuge. They're both equally infuriated. Like, how is this fucking cockroach still alive?
Makes you feel like
Can
they're going to
this-
be like legendary in the country now, especially like kind of like this seems like it's going to
Oh
be
my
a
God, yeah.
galvanizing thing. And like if both pillars survived a bombing like of this magnitude, I don't know, it almost like is going to have an opposite effect where it was supposed to destabilize everything, but now it's going to like do the exact opposite. It's going to galvanize everyone together.
We see the heads of several other pillars or the pillars of several other clans are dead.
Mm-hmm.
So the two biggest clans probably just got
Or the
more
Weatherman.
powerful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of those clans.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a legitimate like reason for joining the clans for both of them, or if it galvanizes them more against each other.
Just like closer ties between the mountain and No Peach.
Yeah,
Okay.
recreate the One Mountain Society,
Just
or just further entrench them against each other.
Mhm.
It's one or the other.
Tross, before we get to your point on now Suin, we also did that update, the download of what's going on in the city, and it's pretty cool, honestly. Like, it's not good for our heroes, it's not good for the city, but as like us reading, it just sounds like a sick thing to see if the adaptation does get to this part. The bombers were hailed as heroes by violent supporters who'd incited a small wave of smaller attacks on the way to the bombing. Gunmen waving the black flag of the clanless and chanting, "The future is now! The future is clanless!" had attacked government institutions and prominent clan-owned properties in the city. Greenbones of the Hydo Shield clan were staunchly protecting the Tayton Treasury and Wisdom Hall, but there were reports of weapons fired, tear gas grenades, and pipe bombs set off near the factory, on Poor Man's Road, and in the financial district. Shay sucked in a sharp breath at the sight of the lower floor of No Peak Tower on Ship Street, wreathed in smoke. It's just like a cool visual and description of everything, and the truly neutral Hydo Shield leaping into action and protecting the Tayton Treasury and Wisdom Hall, protecting like the politicians and all that. I don't know. It just seemed like really cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it shows the mob mentality. It's like anarchy.
Mhm.
Everyone starts looting and destroying everything.
There's that
It also
combination.
legitimizes the no clan like the clanless future movement as a faction that has to be considered in these like local wars that are going on.
Do you think that's lasting or what?
I mean, a show of strength like this is sure to radicalize some people, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
And the survival of the clan leaders, it's going to cause some people to like hail them as divine leaders of the clans, and also cause some people to believe that they are a force that is unnatural and needs to be disposed.
Love that read. And it builds off of Ben's read of like our Ite and Hilo about to become godlike figures.
Mm-hmm.
Fired up.
The thing that I would tag in there too is more of like a real world ad, and that's the time frame in which this book was released was in November, I think, of 2021, and we had gone through the January 6th, we had gone through George Floyd and a number of other riots that had happened across the country in various capacities, and so there's just sort of a grounding in realness that I felt here of sort of that anger, whichever way you want to pin it, and revolt, which was interesting. The thing that I want to talk about with Now Swen is I want to get your guys' thoughts and feelings. Do you feel as though, what do you guys feel about Now Swen showing up in this moment?
He's like 5 or 6 years out of the clan, like fully retired, right?
Retired, yeah. Not out of the clan, but no longer,
I mean, out of leadership.
Yes, yeah. Right.
I was thinking there was going to be some reveal of like romantic intimacy between him and
I think they've got romantic ties. That's where my brain goes.
Oh,
Not
really?
that they
I see it
fully
more
were
like
involved.
I see it more like a father-daughter. He's like looking out for her like a I don't know.
My
They
reaction was
describe him
like,
as elderly here.
yeah, my reaction.
He's like 80.
Ite has a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, which obviously relationships can be, there's large gaps in age in relationships, not unheard of. Predatory relationships, not unheard of. However, I
think
got
it's predatory,
father,
but yeah.
daughter.
Yeah,
more
like
than
caring in a fatherly manner. I didn't get any vibes.
Maybe that's just distinctly the fact that there's a lack of anything romantic from Ite's side that makes this seem like the closest possibility. But
I want to clarify a little bit. I didn't get romantic vibes. I was expecting there to be when he showed up.
Yeah.
That's kind
Okay.
of, yeah. Yeah. I didn't quite get father-daughter either, but I was assuming something like that was going to come up when he was the one that showed up at the door.
it's really all speculation, I think, no matter which way we shake it. But
yeah, I think they're both so like deeply broken in their own ways that it was the closest. Like father-daughter feels
maybe it's
wrong
empathy
too, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just like they are devoted to one another in a way that it seems like nobody else is devoted to them. Or
And
at
I think,
least, I don't know. It's weird.
now is devoted to her out of respect too, out of how she claimed power. So he respects power and cunning, and I think he's devoted to his pillar because she's a powerhouse.
Yeah, I found it pretty sweet, actually, the whole thing.
Oh no!
Scoops her up
in a
and
rare
then,
turn.
like sets her down. He's like, I'm about to have to fucking murder.
Yeah.
Ready to
I wonder
die for
how
her.
Shay found him.
I was also wondering that. Thank you, Aaron. It's like, why couldn't we kill this guy if we can find
Is he
him
not
this
dead
quick?
yet? He's
Well,
like
the man
in his
reads the
80s,
clans.
right?
Yeah. I just like, I don't know. I'm like spite murder at this. You know what I mean? I don't like having him alive out there in the wild.
At the
Obviously,
same
you
time,
can't just be murdering people. That's retribution would come. The mountain would come down. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I think he's old enough. He'll die soon on his own.
yeah, good on him for actually getting to retire. I think that's kind of my opinion now, Suen. Like, yeah, bad dude in a bunch of ways. Most of these people we talk about week over week over week are bad dudes in some way, shape, or form. But good on one of them to get to retire and be done with his own degree of vileness.
He was also pseudo-retired before we met him, because he was
True.
teaching at the temple school, the Wylon.
Wylon.
Yeah.
Wylon, thank you.
Good
Can
point.
I also, just while we're on the Wylon subject, like, I'd imagine that removing him from teaching has probably done such a disservice to the mountain cadets coming in. Because, like, obviously very scary, so maybe he wasn't the best teacher, but he's so good at perception and I'd imagine other Jade abilities that removing him from teaching. I know there's the question, like, sometimes when superstar NBA players become coaches, they suck at it because they can't just be like, they can't explain how they were so good. So they're just like, do what I did. So maybe he wasn't a good teacher, but I'm just speculating here that it's a blow. One thing I wanted to touch on is when Shay leaves and Andon is considering calling the family house to be like, to check in more or less and get an update. And he realizes he can't, and he puts the phone back on the receiver. And I thought that was very heartbreaking. And another example of early on, it's just like the tragedy of Andon's life, where it's like he's so isolated from everybody, even his family. And sometimes it's self-imposed, and here it's sort of self-imposed, but for a good reason. Obviously, he can't. It's just, a full circle moment of his whole life.
I think that's a good call out.
And it's smart to he's not like selfish or self-absorbed at all. He's like thinking of them, like, I don't want to tie up the phone line or like make him jump when the phone rings. So
yeah, just so not honor, but like duty bound by love.
Considerate. Yeah.
Yeah. This is very sad to picture him alone, just as worried as them, stuck with someone who's
mortal
the
enemy
for him and his family. Yeah. Poor Andy.
I love when he like is like, okay, I'm giving you an IV now. Like, don't kill me.
That's funny.
And then
she's so
Andon
scary.
has a couple. This is a great Andon chapter, obviously, for the stuff we've already touched on. But like, he made Shay eat. He's like, I'm gonna check you over. Like, very self-assured. He steals some IVs, which probably isn't like the best ethics wise, but I like that more resolve from him. And then when Ite is trying to talk, he's like, remember when I kidnapped you? And then I thought about killing you, but I didn't. And boy, am I glad. And he's like, you can shut up. Like, you
can shut the fuck up, lady.
He's like, there's no need for talking.
Yeah. And all of this culminates in the end when he agonizes, and it just feels for so long but Andon agonizes over whether or not to kill Ite. Do we think he made the right choice?
No.
PJ, you said no one has made the right choice the whole week. Not killing Ite.
No.
PJ.
I think Ite should have died. And I don't think any of them have made the right choice to let her survive. I think it makes sense for their characters. I think they made a choice consistent with who they are. I think it's a mistake.
I like Ite, so I'm glad she's alive.
I am too,
yeah, we got a lot of book to kill Ite.
But yeah, I think
maybe she'll be reformed.
Yeah.
Maybe her snake heart was penetrated by kindness
Ite
and
is just
mercy.
like, you know what? That was bad. I resign. I'm gonna retire to Marenia.
Or she'll be like, let's team up as bad bitches of the clans.
I'll be the horn.
I can't imagine her coming to the realization that my little bit of mercy very nearly killed me. My little bit of kindness almost put me in the ground. Now I'm just going to do it again?
The one time she was nice.
Only because the 3 family members that could have strangled the life from her didn't kill her, though. That's the other side of it, is like there are 3 distinct opportunities that we've had over the course of the week where every living person of whom wanted to see revenge for Lon immediately in the family had the opportunity, and none of them took it.
Who's number 3?
And Shay Hilo. None of them took it immediately.
Hilo was trying to.
Hilo took a political
have her
version
die.
of it. Like he took a political
he wasn't
version of the
showing her any
decision.
mercy.
Hilo, if Hilo
Yeah.
tried to kill her, people would have jumped in. Like it was the same.
No,
opportunity
Hilo was trying to
fully
kill
extinguish
her by
That was
stopping
him
anyone
doing that
from
was
helping.
the equivalent of strangling her.
He was
Because if
seizing
he
the opportunity,
actively-
but he didn't actively kill her. He had
Right, but I
he had
think
the
if
same
he
chance.
if he actively did, they would have stopped him.
Yeah, I don't think he had a chance to do anything
No, I think we need to.
But his
The
blocking
penitence.
and passive
that was
like
Yeah, that was the active
I think
one in
we
that
need to
case.
separate Shay and Andon from Hilo. I think it's distinct that Hilo was trying to make Ite die,
Yeah.
whereas Shay and Andon were actively saving her.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to distinguish from the. Yeah, I get fine. It's active enough. All right.
Right. You're saying he could have walked over and killed her, but
Yes,
I think that would have spurred everybody
died
into
too.
movement. I don't know if he. I think even his allies would have stopped him in that.
Well, the
case.
penitents were watching. It would have been
That
a
too.
really political suicide.
for a religious man and non-religious man to settle and suddenly heed religion.
Maybe they creeped him into it because they were all in their ears,
Sure.
being so creepy.
But back to the original question, I think Andon did make the right choice. I thought that would have been so bizarre if he had been like, actually, I'm going to kill you.
Right. Yeah, like PJ said, it was very true to his character, and just like I think it's just a great example of like really good writing and storytelling, especially like you're letting the character lead the story beats, and just like she created Andon, put him through all these experiences, those inform his choices, and like this just feels very true to who he is. And so I really like that aspect of it.
While also showing the
just-
conflict of the choice. Like by choosing not to act, he might be causing more harm because all the future people that she'll kill.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
what if he kills her and then everything goes into chaos and then more people? You know, it's the saving one or saving many conundrum.
And I love like
Right.
Shay's reaction where he's like, did I make the right choice? She's like, I have
She's like, I don't know. I'm fucking
Yeah.
tired. I need a nap.
I had the same choice, and
That
I
felt
don't know.
very real too. Just being like, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't. What did we do? I don't.
Yeah. I love that. It just
You guys
feels
are
so
so
true.
smart.
Yeah.
Real quick, when we just got on the Hilo conversation, did anybody else just want Hilo and Wound to just start kicking ass like bat to bat? I don't know. Like I picture Hilo does try to kill him or kill her. Wound senses that he perceives violence going on. He hops in, and then it's just those two basically against the room. Like that'd be fucking sick.
I fully imagine it as Bruce Lee and Jet Li fighting next to each other.
I don't see Woon as a fighter. I don't know.
I feel like he's
He's like,
Like-
Woon Pappy.
low key nice with it.
Because we know he's got
same
the
time.
big hands, long arms.
Oh. I don't
His
know.
big hands.
Picturing it
I
now
don't see him
with
as a
the,
warrior.
The Crazy 88 song from Kill Bill, and they're just like, pow,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
hell yeah.
Speaking of exploitation films,
That's all I had, though.
all right. Well, we have the final question, of course, to ask, which is who the fuck won this week?
I think Gato and
Spenia.
Berglund. Yeah. Espenia
Yeah.
for me.
Gallo and Birdland.
Or yeah, Gallo.
Spies. Extraordinary.
I know
What's the
my
spin-off
choice.
called?
I survived with no business surviving through so many. She had so many opportunities to fucking die.
Yeah, man.
She could have died so many times.
Yeah, man. Sucks.
Yeah, probably I too. Yeah.
I don't know. Emma lost.
Oh man,
She
I'm
did.
on the other side of the train. I am on the Emma won the week train.
She didn't
Because
do the one
ultimately-
thing she was trying to do, which was kill
Everything-
Aimana.
I understand.
Can't be a winner if you
And
It was like
bring
a
down
pretty-
either of the
It was
clans.
a
Well,
pretty.
Barrow
they are
during the
pretty
week.
clear.
You
You
really
can't,
care
you
about
can't be
bringing
a
down the
winner.
clans.
You can't. You
They
can't
clearly
win
also.
if you sex Barrow. It's a loss.
It's an automatic loss.
She did do the spy stuff of like prevent the Planless Future Movement or Malovny from winning, I guess, kind of, which is a win.
She
And
achieved her
theorize
goal
that's her goal?
without. I think so. I think that was the entire thing. Is she played an incredible hand as best as she could and got as close to revenge as anyone could ever get against the most unkillable woman, as we've talked about for the last 30 minutes of how impossible it is to put down Aitmata. She's inflicted way more damage than Shay ever did, and it's unclear whether or not.
But it
she'll
was
recover.
unsuccessful.
It's
That's
not a
my
win.
point. She didn't kill her.
Yeah,
I think it's-
She
Well,
actually
no
she
one else-
ended up saving
Who
her
else
life by
won?
stabbing her.
I mean,
That's
that's
like saying
like-
Jimmy Butler
Uh,
won the NBA season because he came in second place. It's like you didn't. Jokic won the season.
what?
Emma did not win the season. That's all
yeah.
I'm saying. Emma,
You spoke
you
French
can't
there
fail
for a
the
moment.
ultimate
And I have
goal.
no idea.
You can't lose the ultimate goal and then get like a backup goal in your back pocket and be like, I won the week.
You know,
No.
sometimes you can win a week a different way.
No, I think Espenia
MVP
is
does
probably
not
the
mean-
only.
That's what I'm saying.
think it's
I'm making the same
or
argument.
Espenia.
I can accept the Espenia answer. I can accept the Ida
Let's
answer.
put a poll up this week.
Okay,
see
we'll
if
do it on Spotify.
Anybody
Hey,
votes Emma.
friends, family, everyone else. Go vote on the poll on Spotify. If you haven't, you don't even need an account. You should be able to vote for it right there instead of the application. It's a new thing you can do on Spotify episodes. Yeah.
Enemies too.
Kids
If you're an
these
enemy,
days.
of
If you're an
ours,
enemy of the
still vote.
podcast, we need
And
you
listen,
to vote, actually.
Vote your conscience. Vote for real. Don't just vote to spite any of us. Vote for real.
We'll also throw it up on Instagram and we'll share the results on the next one, Who in the Week, and we'll provide our answers. So,
Blessed.
all right. Sounds good.
So I got to scroll. Next week is our 5th episode, where we will be tackling episodes 29 through 35.
Chapters?
Or chapters.
What did I say?
Yeah, episodes.
Hey, what are you going to do?
Well, you should know what we're covering now.
Players fuck up sometimes.
I'd still give you MVP of the week, Thomas, even though
Aw.
you fucked up. So that's
Thank you,
where we'll
Cross.
leave you for this week.
Thank you, Tim and Andrew, for doing everything you do to keep the show going. Listeners, check out the show notes where you'll see all kinds of links and stuff, including our schedule, our Patreon, which you can join and listen to more stuff and interact with us on Patreon or on Discord and all kinds of stuff. See our websites, our social media accounts, and all kinds of good stuff in one very nice, compact, easy, convenient location for you.
Don't forget to rate and review 5 stars only. If you don't give us 5 stars only, then we'll stab you in the neck.
7-year plan.
Successfully.
Yeah. We'll
Wait 7 years.
we'll plan it for 7 years.
And then we'll stab you in the neck.
We'll pop up when you're very distracted.
When you're
Then a van will
taking a
explode,
shit.
too. Just cuz. As mentioned, super excited to talk to you guys next week about the books. So thank you so much for your support. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.